Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. As I go live, the big news story is that around 9:30 p.m. Jerusalem time, a hospital in Gaza was hit with a missile, killing hundreds of people. And if you're watching the news, the news bluntly reports it to you, matter of fact, no emotion or tone to it. Just that's the latest. And right away, they have people from the Israeli defense on to say that they probably don't think it's their rocket, and if it was a total accident. So already just getting the dismissive sign. And then they'll be right back in a moment with an Israeli survivor who survived October 7th, and they'll talk about it with real compassionate tone, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you had to live through that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry you had to live through that too. But where's the tone for the Gaza people who just got blown to smithereens? And the majority of them are children because that's pretty much all that's left over there. Children and women. There's not a whole lot of adult men left in Gaza. So the people getting killed are children and women predominantly whenever you read these headlines. And for anyone who'd say, well, what about Hamas? Again, well, what are we trying to present over here about Hamas? And what's so coincidental about them being 35 years old as an organization and the war being declared by Israel 35 days from the Superior General's birthday, in light of what we've been teaching about that number and the history of the Catholic Church and its rule across the world. Again, if you're new here, we educate about these things, and for the decade that I've been educating about these things, I've been censored for hate speech. And I was looking at this today, my latest hate speech censorship, and to Patreon's credit, they've never really given me a hard time about anything. And I thought, weird, how can this have been flagged for hate speech? If you guys can see what was flagged by Patreon, your post TNF notes, it ended up becoming the notes for the entire NFL week, but they're the notes for the NFL week, for NFL Week 6, and we educated about the significance of it beginning on Aleister Crowley's birthday, and how Aleister Crowley invented the religion Thelema that worships the number 93, and how at the conclusion of NFL Week 6, there was going to be 93 total games played in the NFL, and throughout the week we pointed out all the different 93s that were with teams that could go in their favor. And sure enough, it went in a lot of those teams' favor. And funny enough, the team that I think, the part of the notes as I read through, I was like, what could possibly be hate speech? I came across a section in the Eagles-Jets game, and I said, this has got to be what they're calling hate speech. So I pointed out how the Jets were coming into the game with 93 points scored, and there were a lot of teams that had this 93 thing going on. The Bengals stayed on 93 losses. Again, you guys, one more time to make sure you're following me. This NFL week, National Football League, it began on October 12th, which is Aleister Crowley's birthday, famous occultist, maybe the most famous occultist in the world, from Britain, from the UK. He invented a religion called Thelema that worships the number 93. And we noticed how the way the NFL season was scheduled, this week 6 was going to conclude on the 93rd game of the season, which was played last night. And again, in just a lot of games, there was a clear tribute to 93. And you could see it before the games were played. The Bengals stayed on 93 losses versus the NFC, beating the Seahawks. Ron Rivera stayed on 93 regular season losses. The Bills got their first win at home over the Giants since 93 and stayed on 93 losses versus the NFC, and so on and so forth. And again, the Jets came in with 93 points scored. But the other thing that I wrote about the Jets game, as I said, the Jets are 0-12 versus the Eagles. And if the Jets beat the Eagles, they'll be 1-12 all time, which is interesting because what we talked about on the Monday Night Football game on Columbus Day, right after war began in Israel, we talked about, and again, for people who are new here, you have to understand the things I've been educating about, I've been teaching about the whole time, how world affairs are literally encoded with these sports leagues, not because of some organic, cosmic thing, but because there are literally entities that are manipulating us. People in power that are controlling these sports leagues, these nations, these news networks, and it's like a grand mockery. That's why the New York Jets had their only Super Bowl winning season in 1968 when World Trade Center construction began and 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. And that's why after 9/11 you had the Patriot Act and then the emergence of the Patriots as the greatest team ever. until Tom Brady went down to Tampa, where instantly Tampa won all championships. Brady becomes the first quarterback to win the Super Bowl. So anyway, we've been talking about why all of this is and how it's all scripted together. And what we pointed out again with this Eagles-Jets game, you got two flying things. In Gematria, Judaism equals 112, and so does Zionist, and so does Catholicism, and the Jesuits operate in 112 nations per their own information. And again, the Jesuits historically are a Catholic-Jewish alliance invented to fight the Protestant Reformation and Martin Luther. So I had this in the notes and where the 112 record could make sense, especially in light of the Balfour Declaration, which was signed November 2nd, 112, because on the Columbus Day game, what we pointed out is the two quarterbacks in the game, Jimmy Garoppolo and Jordan Love, they were both born on November 2nd. And I talked about in that game how if the Raiders beat the Packers, they'd get their 106th win versus the NFC when Christopher Columbus equals 106. And again, both quarterbacks having the Balfour Declaration birthday, and the Balfour Declaration turns 106 on November 2nd. And again, 106 is a special number. Words like prophecy and authority equal 106, and my argument's been that the authorities are contriving prophecy by this biblical code. So anyway, the stuff I'm educating about, it's not hate speech. It's here's my knowledge of what's going on in the world, and here's why I think the Jets have a decent narrative to upset the Eagles. I won't be shocked if they lose. I mean, if you read my notes, I said I could see the Eagles winning by 8 or upsetting and becoming 2-2 at home and 3-3 for the year when Eagles is 22 and New York's 33 and this whole 112 thing. But again, there's no hate speech in what I'm doing. What I'm doing is, again, educating about my understanding of what's going on in world affairs and how Jesuits are manipulating this through language, through ritual, through dates on the calendar. And, the NFL week, it also began on 1012, a bit like 112. So this has been the problem with me getting deleted over and over the years. I'm taken down for things like this, and it's called hate speech. And in nowhere am I emphasizing hate. In fact, I mean, if anyone's watching my videos, I'm saying, like, Jews are getting way too much hate. Again, this is a manipulation. It's a setup. It's meant to make people hate other groups and fall for traps that are purposely set for them. People are bringing up right now how we're seeing this war in Israel start with an attack on a group of dancing Israelis, and how after 9/11, one of the storylines that even CBS 60 Minutes did a story on was the dancing Israelis arrested in New Jersey and shipped back to Israel. So again, I'm saying for all the people who look at that and say, see, it's got to be Jews in Israel, that's not a fair way to look at it. Is that a trap that's being set? Is there a greater cabal here? And again, when I speak against the Roman Catholic Church, that's not hate speech either, because I'm not saying you can blame all Catholics. You can't blame all Jews, but I'm saying we're trying to trace who is manipulating this world and what makes sense, and all my research points back to the church, and I've been proving my point for a long time. And again, we're on the Catholic Church's calendar. English, the oldest script goes back to them. Tarot cards, the oldest known deck, traces back to Italy, where the Vatican is. But again, none of this has ever been presented as hate speech. And I have said things like, humanity's so asleep and hates the truth so much, whatever the cataclysm they're bringing us to, it's much deserved, and sometimes I wish they'd get on with it. But that's not hate speech either. That's just me expressing how frustrated I am with the world. And anyway, that wasn't in this post. All that was in this post was the 1-1-12 thing and what would happen if the Jets got their first ever win versus the Eagles. And that turned out to be winning information. And now it's being accused of hate speech. What if the NFL finally realized, for people who don't know, I've been a needle in the thigh of a giant elephant in the world of sports for a long time. Again, if you search Zachary K. Hubbard, The Big Lead, which is USA Today's sports publication. Again, this article was written January 2016, and not long it'll be 8 years old, this article. Conspiracy theorist proves Freemasons rigged AFC and NFC championship games. And again, we proved way more than that. In October of that season, we explained why the Broncos would beat the Panthers, Von Miller would be the MVP, what it had to do with Huey P. Newton and the Black Panthers. Not to mention, this past weekend, Sunday, it was the Black Panther anniversary, October 15th, and the Panthers got smoked. 42 points given up. Again, we always teach about that sick joke with 42 in black history and how they do it. But, again, this article is about me. A man calling himself Zachary K. Hubbard, if that is his real name, which it is, put together 4 videos, and that's because back then, because I had so many strikes, one of the limitations back then was you could only do 15-minute videos. I almost always had enough penalty on my channel that I could never get out of the 15-minute cap thing. Just been dealing with censorship the whole time, videos taken down for hate speech. It's like, I'm educating about something. I mean, if I'm wrong, how about somebody makes a counter video? How about YouTube hires a department of people who identify stuff as hate speech, and instead of deleting it, they employ those people, instead of writing code, to present why they disagree from a company standpoint, because YouTube wants people to understand that they're not taking sides, but if they have a problem with the message, they'll actually address it. I mean, that'd be respectable. I wish YouTube had a collection of the 100 times I've been deleted and censored. I wish there were 100 videos online on YouTube's page expressing why I'm such a bad guy and I should be shut up. Because, again, I mean, why not? But instead, I just get these vague things, hate speech. And it's like, well, somebody defined to me how it was hate speech. Because I didn't mean that it was hate speech. I just meant, doesn't it make sense? Doesn't the ritual make sense? And light what we're always talking about? And, again, guys, very special year in this NFL season. That's going to be the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday on the 42nd day of the year. But yeah, this is from January 2016. This is recognition essentially by the USA Today, and you can go back and read the article. And then the next year, Vice News wanted to take a shot at me. And again, both of these articles written for doing something we've done many a times, laying out the narrative for why something would make a lot of sense as the championship from the start of a season. And actually, I didn't even achieve that in this year. I'd done that years before this, but in this season, it took me until September. It was actually one of my worst years. Took me until September to figure out what the World Series is going to be, but I was right on about that. And then Vice News writes this article. This is November 2017. So, what is that? A year and 10 months after the USA Today article. But yeah, there's a lot of people in the world who've been trying to attack me for the things I've been exposing. And again, the problem is you can get financially hurt in a big way. When I first began raising funds for this work, I pretty much had one stream of decent income. It wasn't a lot, but it was my first ebook for sale, Letters and Numbers. And it used to be on the platform Etsy. And it was 5-star reviewed. It had nearly 600 reviews. There was literally one review that was written that wasn't 5-star. And it felt like maybe it was a 5-star review and they just didn't hit the right button because they wrote such a nice review, but they gave it 3 stars and it never made sense to me. I was like, that's one of the nicest reviews I have. And it's the only one that's not 5 stars. It's 3 stars. It's like, something doesn't make sense about that. But the point is, there was nothing wrong with the book. And then what happened was the book had been up for sale and it started to take off around September 2018. The sale started to pick up. I started to make, $500 some weeks a little less. Some weeks it'd sell like $1,000 worth, but it was my best source of income. My first book, electronic form, the one place you could buy it. And I also made it free to anybody who asked for it for free back then, which I always made clear. But anyhow, it was my best source of income. And then the Ides of March shootings happened. And remember, we'd circled the Ides of March for that year, and it was the Christchurch, New Zealand shootings at the mosques. And we went back in that day, we talked about what we called out months earlier with the bombings, the mega bomber and the Austin bombings, and how the names in that pointed to Roman history and the Ides of March. So that's why we had the Ides of March circled. We said they're going to do something crazy this year on the Ides of March again, just wait. And remember, it was that guy who live streamed, and the video was like the easiest it was ever to find one of these mass killing videos. It was all over the internet. And again, supposedly a white supremacist with the 14 words on the gun went in and shot up New Zealand mosques on the 74th day of the year. And then what happened on the 74th birthday of Israel was the top shooting in Buffalo, where the shooter also had the first-person video with the 14 words on the gun. And they said he had the same manifesto as the shooter, and it was all about 74. But anyway, going back, that day I put out 2 videos about the Christchurch shooting, and it was back when I could actually get views, and they both got a ton of views. One got over 500,000 views in a day, and the other one got like 350,000 views. And back then, my YouTube channel wasn't monetized or anything. I wasn't making any money off the videos. There was no way to donate through YouTube. I hadn't done that yet. But that day, Etsy banned my book. And it was selling really well that evening while the videos were taking off, and then it just got cut off that night. and it let me know. And you have to understand, a big part of what both of my books are about is 74 and why 74 is so important to this cabal. And I teach that lesson really well over and over, and it's why I predicted that this year something really bad would happen in Israel with war, no doubt about it. You can go back and watch the video from December 29, 2022, because the Superior General 74, Netanyahu's turning 74, which happens October 21st, Gaza Strip's 74 years old. But it's, again, because of the videos and content I did and how many times I taught my point, I was being rewarded in the world that day for sales for the book, and then boom, it just got cut off, and I got a letter from Etsy that the book was removed for hate speech. And keep in mind, it's March 15th, 2019, and the book had been on the platform since March of 2018, but it didn't really start to get sales until I really got into full swing that year making videos again, because I was dealing with so much censorship and I couldn't get back on YouTube at the time, and all it has my blog, which not that many people followed because they mostly want my YouTube. But it was there on March 2018, and from March 2018 to September 2018, it probably sold in that period. It might have generated $1,000 in sales in that whole period of time. But then once I started putting out work, and a lot of people caught on because, again, we just start talking about the future and what to expect, and it starts landing. People catch on. They're like, okay, I want to learn more about this. But again, I'm just trying to express the problem with hate speech. What I'm doing is not based in hate. You know, I have some chips on my shoulder, and I do target some people that I think it's fair to target them. Again, it's fair when I point out that behind the Sandy Hook shooting and the people who called for the censorship of the First and the Second Amendment in the wake of Sandy Hook, essentially trying to undermine America because of one school shooting, and these people who had a big impact, you know, it's not to blame it on all Jewish people, but the fact of the matter is the ones who are really pushing that agenda to censor and undermine the First and Second Amendment, they are Jewish. And like I'll say, that's true, but that doesn't mean you can blame all Jewish people. Are all Jewish people doing that, or just a handful? So, again, that's not hate speech either. And that speech should be countered. If I'm so wrong, what the ADL and all these types of people should be doing is coming back and saying, Zachary K. Hubbard is wrong to blame it on Lenny Posner and him being Jewish because, and then why? Because the reality is, too, for anyone, here, you see this picture right here? This picture right here. What is this picture from? For those of you guys who can't see, it's me with a megaphone, with a police officer he did a good job in the moment trying to get me to stop what I was doing, but I felt very righteous in what I was doing. But you can see this man yelling at me, and if you weren't there were a lot of people trying to instigate and provoke me, and again, they were all of, you could say, you know, of the relation in a way to Lenny Posner, okay? And again, it's not to blame all these people, and this isn't hate speech. It's just that was the reality of the situation. And we even had a guy come up to me at the end who said he was a gay Jewish man who can't stand people like me and right-wing wackos like me. And I'm not even a right-wing wacko. I'm totally non-political. I show how both parties are corrupted and how this idea of government and this big of an authority is so wrong and should not be allowed for all the reasons we expose each day. But anyway, the point is, this event, which was about marching against the Second Amendment, coming out of the Stoneman Douglas shooting, which was in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood, where David Hogg went on TV and explained how he was Jewish and he was going to outlive all the people questioning the events of that day. As they said, the majority of students were shot in room 1214, like the date of Sandy Hook, December 14th. Fateful day in history, by the way. George Washington died unexpectedly that day. First shot that day for the new rushed out shot to save the world from the 99% survivable illness for most people. Again, her name was Sandy on the same day, December 14th. Steph Curry set the three-point record in New York City on that day in history, while Bill de Blasio was telling New York to get its third shot, and get a free hamburger. But anyway, nothing I'm doing is hate speech, and I'm always saying you cannot blame all Jewish people. You might see that there is a heavy Jewish element in it. That's still not a reason to hate all Jewish people. I'm hated on because people think I'm Jewish because I do look Ashkenazi, and I'd guess if I got my DNA tested, there'd probably be a percentage that's Ashkenazi. As I've always said, my dad does not know who his biological father is. He took on the last name of his adopted father, who was another man who had a child with my father's mother. My mother, or my grandmother, his mother, has 3 children, all with different fathers. And one of them's last name was Hubbard, which is why we have that surname. And I've always explained that. And again, to just be attacked because of the way you look, when people make all these accusations is based on the way you look, that's the way the world's not supposed to be. And again, making all things, got a fly that's just harassing. But anyway, this is what they want us doing. Again, people should be judged on the merits of their actions. And I don't know what the worst person could really say about me. Oh, I hated his content on his channel. It's like, well, then turn off the video. Turn off the video if you hate it so much. You know? That's the worst it ever could have been. Maybe these people out here could say worse, because if you want to know what I did here, is they kept mentioning that they had speakers that had canceled or didn't show up. And the woman who was running the organization, they'd mentioned it earlier that since they had things like, hey, go ask her if you can have a spot to speak. And so I went over and I asked her and I said, hey, since you got openings, I said, do you mind if maybe I give a little bit different perspective on the mass shootings and teach about something I've been writing books about? She asked me a little bit more. She's like, no, we're not interested in that. And I was like, well, I mean, some people might appreciate it. And the thing was, I tried to point out to her that I'd been talking to people there before the event started with the speakers, and some of the people I talked to found the work interesting, and some people were there overhearing and trying to mimic. And those people also happened to be, again, like Lenny Posner, if you know what I mean. And it was like they were agents there just to provoke, like agent provocateurs. And some of them acted really crazy. But anyway, what got me really annoyed is I'm sitting there. This is after I've been told that I can't speak on the stage and nobody else signed up to speak. So I'm just feeling censored again. I'm trying to go to an event and be part of it and get people to think. And I thought this is democracy. So I had to do something democratic. That's the way I saw it. They got politicians up on the stage talking about how mass shootings will only stop if Democrats are in office. And so at that point, I just had to get on the megaphone. And I had to let them know that Joe Biden was a Democrat. And in the time of Washington State's government, it's been a lot of Democrat. And the mass shootings have happened. It's happened under Democratic state Congress, federal representation. And, they brought up Columbine. That happened when Bill Clinton was president. He was a Democrat. And Sandy Hook happened when Obama was president, and he was a Democrat. So they just started to get furious, just screaming, booing, shut up. It's all this noise, right? And then that's when the cop had to come over and say like, hey, man, come on. He did come up to me earlier and he said, you're not going to try and ruin this event, are you? And I said, no, I don't want to ruin the event. But, I said, I also think people need to hear all sides of the equation. A lot of people here are absolutely insane and just want to undermine their rights and liberties like there's not tyrants ruling over us right now. And the cop said back to me in the private conversation before this happened, he said to me, he goes, I totally know what you mean. And I said, so, yeah, I said, plus I'm going to try and get us to speak on the stage today. I think I just talked to him right before I went over and talked to her and tried to sign up before she said no. And then I sat around like a good sport and just put up with a whole bunch of bad speakers and a whole bunch of nonsense that didn't make any sense. But then when they started to cheer about how only Democrats can stop mass shootings, I was like, okay, this is just getting psychotic now. Well, I have to interject. So, I feel like that's what we're supposed to do as Americans. That's why they made a megaphone. But, yeah, people want to say what I'm doing is hate speech. I'm sorry. I'm only pointing out things that are factual. Factual. It's never done in a hateful way, Well, I shouldn't say never. There's probably times where I said things and I didn't say it carefully or I was ranting away and it might have come off meaner than. But people know me who've ever met me. I'm not a dangerous or violent person towards any group of people. And there's all kinds of ample video evidence of that in the world of me going out. The people that come out for us, they're Jewish, they're Christian, they're Muslim, they're all colors, they're all ages. We bring out a super diverse crowd of people. We go everywhere. And you know what? Because of censorship, my cross-country trip that I did last year from Seattle to New York, stopping at all the major cities along the highway, driving out there, every gathering, super diverse. Jewish people coming out to every gathering as well. So that's why it gets, there's tons of people who know that what I do is not hate speech, but to continue to have this happen And then also that Patreon's never done this, and then to do this right now with what's going on in the world. I mean, it's like for all the Jewish people out there who see what's wrong with what's going on, I'm sure a lot of Jewish people realize that, like, you can say bad things about Christians on YouTube and the video will not be taken down, but if you say a bad thing about a Jewish person, the video will be taken down. I'm sure some Jewish people are offended by that. Like, if you could have 100 Jews here to talk about that right now, I think someone would say, yeah, that's not right. I think the majority of that group would actually say, yeah, that's not right. But the ones that are the bad apples in the group, the ones that we're calling out, that are part of this Jesuit cabal, they're the ones that want these rules. They don't want to be stopped. And it's just gross, you guys. And this is why I've been speaking out since 2013. It's like I said the whole time. By the time 2020 comes around, it's going to be getting ugly. And it's just been one thing after another since 2020, hasn't it? Right when they let you out of COVID, it's Russia, Ukraine, rumors of world war. Woo, now it's way hotter with Israel. And again, here's the reason, because of people who are looking into things, even more people right now. I think rapidly by the day, more and more people are learning to hate Jews because of online, because when you look for answers about what's going on in the world, the way the internet's set up is it's like streaming exactly, it's taking you to answers like Rothschilds and bankers. Like pretty much all the stuff that you can find still on the internet, this age of censorship, it drives you to Rothschilds and bankers. Like they're the end of the world. They're running the world. Their name's on the Balfour Declaration. Again, I'm over here showing, like, think about that name, Rothschild. What's it mean? It means red shield. Red shield. Think of like a Templar in armor, white and red cross, big shield with a big red cross on it. Rothschild, red shield. Who are the Templars in history? They're the original bankers, because they had the ability to guard precious things. They had the best armor, the best weapons. They were equipped to be the world's original bankers, people that had to keep safe important things. And they were considered reliable because they were of a religious and faithful order. So, a better man than the godless heathen. And then at some point in the religious mind, like, that starts to apply to anyone who doesn't have the same religion as you. And that's what you see right now on CNN and Fox News and all these cable outlets. It's like there's very little, pretty much no compassion for Gaza. A Gaza death's reported as a headline. Anything that's scary to Israel is very, let's get somebody on attached that, oh my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Our prayers are with you. Let us know where we can help you. It's like, well, look at that, man. You're talking to like a complete intact family. How about let's see what it looks like in Gaza? It'd be like 5 kids who are looking out for each other. Parents got blown away in the last air raid. So did their friends. They luckily survived, but now they got a limp because they got shrapnel still in their body. I mean, this stuff's crazy, you guys. And then now we live in a society where, again, commerce is online. I got to make this point. And again, it's not hate speech. It's just, bring Bill Maher on to destroy because Bill Maher talks about people like me all the time, like we're some kind of wacko losers. I watched Bill Maher's episode as he comes back at this time. If you didn't watch the latest episode of Bill Maher, he has on a man who's a proud, gay, Jewish man from Germany. And the thing is, he said, what we need is harsher social, scoring. So he said something like that for people who are deemed bigoted and anti-Semitic. Now, we're in this world now where we have these AIs written by people like him that search for anything that they think is bigoted or anti-Semitic. And it could just be writing the words Zionist and Judaism and Gematria together. That could have been put in the algorithms. Now the AI finds anywhere where Judaism, Zionist, Gematria is together, that's anti-Semitic and needs to be taken down. And it feels like it's been that way. And again, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, isn't it interesting that in this language, which goes back to the Catholic Church, so I'm not blaming Jews, I'm saying, isn't it interesting that in this language, introduced the oldest script as we know of the English language, credited to the monk Burfirth of Ramsey Abbey from the year 1011 AD. Again, we're on the Catholic Church's calendar. Isn't it interesting how in this language of English letters and numbers, Catholicism's 112, Judaism's 112, Zionist is 112, and Again, you got the history of the Catholics and the Jews and the Protestant Reformation, the Jesuit order's fingerprints all over Israel. It's like, I don't feel like the people who are doing this to me, I don't feel like they really do think that I'm a hate speaker. I think it's that they don't like what I'm exposing, and now because they've drawn these blurry lines, and I mean, imagine if I was famous enough that this was a story today. I'm Joe Rogan or something. You might not even hear from Joe Rogan all day. You'd hear about him, and you'd have all these different people coming on and saying like, oh yeah, he's doing this weirdo, like fake rip-off Kabbalistic numerology crap, and he's always had this like anti-Semitic twist, so yeah, maybe it is sports notes, but we know what he meant, and he needs to go. And then the next person be on there, and she'd be nicer and sweeter and maybe prettier, but she'd have like the same sentiments. Yeah, he for a lot of years he walked a fine line but everything he was doing was pseudoscience. And again, we're trying to get into an age where it's more about the facts and the figures. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the world we live in. And then all the brain, like my sister, she'd watch that. My own sister would watch that broadcast because she's never really taken the time to listen to me. She just thought this was crazy from day one. But she'd be like, see, finally he had what was coming to him. I think it's for the best. And it's just like, You know what I mean? So here, just to make a point about what I do, let me know if anything feels like hate speech today. Here's the way I see this. Again, I'm educating about how the Jesuits, this sinister order, this political order that's been warned about for centuries that Abraham Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on. Many people for many centuries have talked about how devious the Jesuits are. And again, if you're new here, I always educate about the Jesuits, but the bottom line is 16th century, they're created, English standardized with the spellings we use today, calendar. From that point on, they've been manipulating the world by this code systematically, and they're sly devils. I was late on the uptake, but this news broke at 9:30 p.m. Jerusalem time. 9:30 p.m., and it was that a missile had just hit a hospital in Gaza. And again, it's being broadcast here back to the States. It's meant to have a psychological impact on everybody who listens to it. Even the people who aren't trained to love Gaza as much as they love Israel, which is what the media tries to do. You got to love Israel, Gaza, collateral damage, because we love Israel so much. I mean, it's kind of the way it's presented. It's not like really presented to Americans in a really dark way. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you get some real haters on there. That guy I've been calling out, the guy referring to Muslims as beasts. Netanyahu called these people human beasts. And, but I mean, it's mostly like, really love Israel, a lot of compassion for Israel. Gaza, sorry, you're kind of just in the way. We've got to make it right from what happened in World War II. We're still making it right. Your lives just aren't quite as important. Gaza lives don't matter as much. Something like that, right? It's not like totally hate these people. It's just they don't matter as much. 300 people dead in Gaza. This poor Israeli mother heard gunfire. Let us sympathize with her for the next 10 minutes. But in Sumerian Gematria, with regards to this going live at 9:30 p.m. Jerusalem time, again, in Sumerian Gematria, Christianity equals 930. And all that cipher is just multiplying the alphabetic order times 6. A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, D is 24, E is 30, so on. If you write out Christianity, it equals 930. And the 930th chapter of Protestant Bibles is where Matthew 1:1, the Christian section, begins. There's 929 chapters in the Old Testament. We were just talking about this with the death of Dianne Feinstein, and it being the breaking news in the morning of 9/29. They said she died the evening earlier, but the news broke on 9/29 of the death of the Jewish senator. And, you got the two big women out there in California, Nancy Pelosi, the Catholic, Feinstein, the Jew, who just died. Remember, there's 187 chapters in the Torah. The word Abrahamic in Gematria is 187. Feinstein dead on the 187th day in Nancy Pelosi's age, kind of like how Ruth Bader Ginsburg died 187 days from her birthday on the anniversary of the cornerstone being laid for D.C. And also, it was Rosh Hashanah when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, September 18th. That's the day the CIA was created in history. A lot of things. But anyway, this is the stuff we've been educating about. And again, not hate speech, just education and learning for the sake of seeing through how we are being manipulated mentally, spiritually, physically, giving up our bodily sovereignty, giving up our rights and liberties, just giving up a lot of stuff, giving up families. Who has a good family at this day and age? Family's been broken by the system. Parents out of the house, kid raised by the state in the school. Almost everyone was raised by the state when you think about it. You spent the majority of your childhood in a classroom when you were awake. A lot of it, and doing their schoolwork when you weren't in school. And your parents did the same thing, and they've been indoctrinated into it. Here's the kind of stuff we teach about. So I've been explaining for a lot of years why we went into Afghanistan after 9/11 on October 7th, the day leaving 85 days left in the year, and what it had to do with the Templars, and the sitting president being in skull and bones, who gets their symbolism from the Templars, and him referring to our invasion as a crusade in his own words. And again, today as they give you this story, the break-in at 9:30, about hundreds killed in a hospital attack from a missile in Gaza. And again, like I've been saying to you guys, you learn this knowledge, you can just see how contrived it all is. But notice how Templar and Ashkelon, where she is, equals 85. And if you're new here, these are the 4 base ciphers. Alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26. Alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. Notice when you run it in reverse numerology, Ashkelon, Israel's 85. It's kind of like how Jesus is 74 at the alphabetic order and Jesus Christ is 74 in that same cipher. So is George Washington, and Masonic 74 the other way. Again, just you learn this system, you'll see how many amazing connections there are. But we've been talking about October 7th, the day we invaded Afghanistan, the day leaving 85 days left in the air. Then Biden addressing this war exactly 85 weeks after his speech addressing the war with Russia and Ukraine. And now what's going on with the story out of Ukraine and Russia today, and then also this as they escalate the war. Here. You see how Ashkelon, Israel, with the alphabetic order is also 149? That's the 35th prime. And remember, war with Gaza, essentially, through Hamas, was declared 35 days before the Jesuit Superior General's birthday. Gaza in Gematria equals 35. Hamas is 35 years old. Again, 149 is the 35th prime. Skull and Bones, the secret society, connected to the Templars, equals 149. Templars are Catholic. 149 is the 35th prime. Catholic equals 35, like Holy See, like Jesuitism, like Europe. Think about that with Israel and this ongoing agenda. And again, you can see, if you're looking, how Ashkelon and Templar are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. There's really a lot to say about all those numbers. 31's the 11th prime number. 11's the master number, the master plan. September 11th on the 11th of the month. The World Trade Centers that look like an 11. In New York, the 11th state. The first flight was AA11. AA is 11 like 11. 9/11 had 41 date numerology. Saudi Arabia and Al-Qaeda are 41. Big numbers. Big numbers. But also 229 up there for Ashkelon. That's the 50th prime, just like all of this happening on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. America's 50. So with regards to all this Templar stuff, remember the Templars are the Red Cross. Just look at what she's wearing, right? White, black, and red, the color of the Jesuits. And just think about, with just Templars and Red Cross and a hospital, does it make you think of the company, the organization that's always raising money in the time of tragedy? You know, with the big giant red crosses. Remember at the beginning of COVID, you had the big military ships with big red crosses on them on both coasts. Talking about that and the Templars back then. As we've been talking about so often with these rituals. Now, again, we said today we got to watch out because they'd probably do something extra provoking as they're trying to set off World War. Again, Netanyahu came back on 12/29. That's Albert Pike's birthday, who wrote the letter about 3 world wars, which was published on August 15th, which is the day the Jesuits were created in Paris, France in 1534. And anyway, the Third World War is supposed to be between political Zionism and Islam. New World Order in Gematria equals 75. Now, here was something that was taken down for hate speech. I don't even have the post anymore, but it was teaching about this, and the post is from many years ago. Here, I'm just going to go to the New York Times website. This is a real story from the New York Times. I recently lost this post for hate speech. And the blog that I started on, it wasn't owned by Google, but in the time I've been on there, Google bought it. So now Google owns what I started my work on, my original work, and they've been actively deleting a lot of important posts. I mean, there's just so many. I can't even keep track of all the posts that have been lost. But I wrote a post many years ago about why it matters when Israel turns 75 and why this article on this date matters so much, October 6, 1940. Again, it wasn't ever hate speech. It was just understanding what's going on. And the New York Times has always been run by Jesuits. But 10/6/1940, that date, 10 plus 6 plus 19 plus 40 adds up to 75. Israel turns 75 years old this year on May 14th, 2023. And again, in what's considered the most important cipher, arguably the alphabetic order with numerology, New World Order 75. All of these numbers up here matter in a big way. But it matters that that article was published on 75 date numerology. The motto, order out of chaos, which is on Masonic temples, is 75. Who would pledge it? The phrase Catholic Church is 75, and Roman Catholic is 75, and World War III is 75. Where order out of chaos, and again, New World Order are both 75. Both order, right? The word order alone is also 75. Arthur Greenwood, who's in the headline, was 60 years old when that happened. Arthur Greenwood died at age 74, meaning he died in his 75th year of life, but it matters that he died at age 74 too because it's so important. Again, Gaza 74. Netanyahu's about to turn 74. The word Jewish is 74, just like Jesus, like cross, like Messiah, like gospel, like parables, like Muhammad. Once upon a time, we predicted why Muhammad Ali would die at age 74, only for him to die on June 3rd when it's commonly believed that the Prophet Muhammad died at age 63. Muhammad Ali died on 6/3 in the year 2016 when 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. Educating about this isn't hate speech. Like, in no way is that hate speech towards Muhammad. That's education about something that looks like a really sick ritual. And look at the name he took on, you guys. Muhammad Ali, it coded that 42 on him. It coded that 201 on him. The Jesuit order in the same cipher, 201, like State of Israel's 201, like David Ben-Gurion dead 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment, like the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, Pope Francis, whose birth name equals 201, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, like the founder of the Jesuits. This isn't hate speech. Hey, let's not overlook that the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola, is also 75. Let's not overlook that. That should be on that 75 list in light of how Jesuit this whole thing is. Remember, war was declared 70 days before Pope Francis' birthday. Francis 70, like Vatican. And let's also not forget that it was the day before that the attack happened on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday. 71 days before the Pope's birthday. Again, on Putin's 71st birthday. Catholic the other way is 145, like Israel's establishment date, 14/5, like the 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, because there's 46 books. Again, JFK, number 35, killed at age 46, the first Catholic U.S. president. The second, Joe Biden, number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. His son, Beau Biden Jr., dead 201 days before the Pope's birthday at age 46. Again, Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, 201. O'Donovan, 201, there it is. He did the funeral for Beau Biden at age 46 and the inauguration for Joe Biden as number 46. Again, on the 201st day of the nation's age, which is the day inauguration day is, 20/1. Again, none of this is hate speech. This is like the speech that's meant to help the world see through what's manipulating and lying to it and taking it to a dangerous place. If anything, you could say this work must be done out of love. You know? For 5 years, every single day I did this work. Put it out more and more, took it further and further, researched it more and more, never raised a penny. At the end of that 5-year period, YouTube deleted the channel. And again, what was I saying all year? About how funny it was how Yom Kippur fell that year and why it looked like we were right for the biggest false flag since 9/11, which ended up being Vegas. And again, the channel just deleted 1,000 times for accurately forecasting that event. Deleted so many times for accurately forecasting and taken down in the name of hate speech. It's super annoying. So here, let's just go through more of today's work. Again, if you guys don't know, I do work my ass off over at my website, GematriaEffect.News. If you don't follow there, free Gematria calculators that you can download for your phone. The ebooks are there. Community page, a lot of stuff here. But Here, we circled today for why it's sketchy today, the day leaving 75 days left in the air. That's what today, October 17th, is, the day leaving 75 days left in the air. Russia also equals 75. Notice, Ukraine, most escalating attack yet on Russia. Again, escalating by a code. World War by a code. Joe Biden met with Putin on Pearl Harbor Day of all days to discuss Russia-Ukraine before it broke out 201 days after the first Jesuit Ignatian year began. Hawaii was made a state 201 months and a day after Joe Biden was born. How rigged the game is. Joe Biden equals 64. Shows up in Hawaii for its 64th birthday after the Maui's Lahaina burns up on the 247th day of the governor's age while the governor's, Maui burned up August 8th, the governor's 247th day in office while the country's 247 years old, and a faction of the country once upon a time called the Committee of 13 overthrew Hawaii's monarchy, and then Hawaii burned up this year 13 days before its state birthday, the 64th birthday. Maui equals 64, so does Joe Biden, and that's the day he showed up for their 64th birthday to address. Remember, it's like in the World Cup, the USA team got eliminated 13 days from his birthday. And I pointed out how rigged it was. And again, we nailed that future. Why Argentina to beat France made a ton of sense. In tribute to Pope Francis, who turned 86 the day before the championship with his native country winning. Last winning it in 86, when Jesuits equals 86. But again, we had all kinds of impressive coverage throughout the World Cup. Just showing out what's going on. How manipulated the game is. How all roads are leading to Rome. Since the beginning of Russia-Ukraine, we've been pointing out the Jesuit rituals, why the Pope was there on February 25th, why the war broke out, officially on the day in history that the Catholic Church implemented the Gregorian calendar. It has a lot to do with why Kobe died at age 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age, traveling from Catholic Mass when Kobe Bryant equals 41. And then they had the memorial for him on February 24th, again, the same day in history that the Gregorian calendar was implemented. Catholic rituals. By the way, this story today comes 86 weeks on the nose after Russia-Ukraine first got popping when Russia sent its troops into Ukraine on February 22nd, which is the same day Joe Biden addressed the nation on 2/22/22 at 2:22 local time on the East Coast. And of course, my last book, Letters and Numbers, teaches all about 222 and why from 9/11 to the pandemic for COVID was exactly 222 months, and why Donald Trump was gloating about his trade deal with China at the World Economic Forum, the main sponsor of Event 201, on the 222nd day of his age as COVID was confirmed in the U.S. for the first time. Again, you can see how all of these guys are in on it. You can see that Joe Biden's not on your side. Donald Trump's not on your side. They're in the same Jesuit club. Donald Trump buries his wife on the 201st day of the year. Joe Biden loses his wife and daughter and son in all 201 rituals. I noticed that the man that they want to kill, the leader of Hamas, his name is Yahya Sinwar. Sinwar. A war based in sin and lies. Isn't it funny how war and sin both equal 42, and so does New Testament, and so does World War? Again, this is what we noticed in the very beginning. Just simple things. Simple cipher. War 42. The simple cipher with numerology, World War 42. New equals 42. New Testament equals 42. It begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. Math, 42. The New Testament. The New Testament begins with Matthew and the 42 generations to Jesus. In reverse, math is 66. So is New Testament. Protestant Bibles end with the 66th book and the teaching about the number of the beast. You know, we taught an awful lot about that in the time of the pandemic. And you know what? I lost video after video for teaching about the number of the beast Gematria encoding in the way vaccines were introduced and rituals were performed. And I got videos taken down for hate speech and medical misinformation. And all I was trying to do was give people a different perspective than CNN and Fox News. And again, remind people about how we forecasted 2020 to be a devastating year with a major world agenda many years before it happened. And in the book I wrote, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, which came out and I was done writing in July, essentially. I put in a final last section about the August 4th explosion. I had to pull the book back from the publisher to cover the August 4th explosion in Beirut. The giant 201 Jesuit joke that was, in light of the Jesuits being known for trying to blow up British Parliament with fireworks on Remember the 5th of November back in the year 1605, trying to kill King James for putting the biblical knowledge out. King James born in the year 66. And again, just little things like biblical 58. And King James dead at age 58. And he was in Freemasonry, which is 58. Like Rosicrucian is 58. If I can spell it right. Again, King James was a Freemason, Rosicrucian, which equal 58, and dropped dead at age 58 with the Bible named after him. Unexpectedly, like George Washington, who was also in the club. He wasn't age 58, though. But George Washington, for another Jesuit joke, Georgetown equals 57. It was established the year George Washington turned 57, was inaugurated. And look at how many of the founders were inaugurated at age 57. Scottish Rites 57, and their rites were written by the Jesuit order. And Georgetown's the first Jesuit university, and we start recognizing the presidents in the year Georgetown was established, in the year that the Capitol was officially getting set up in the Jesuit stronghold after coming over from Philadelphia. But again, none of this is hate speech. I've lost so much content like this from hate speech, and I'm just so annoyed. And I realize it's only going to get worse as time goes on. And I'm so annoyed that humanity not enough people snapped out of it before we've even gotten this far down the road. It's just, and the things that are being done to us, the obvious lies, the ritualism of it all, it's just maddening. And I shouldn't even be having to take it to the degree that I'm taking it to expose what's going on. But for exposing it this well, now I get accused of hate speech. This is why there can't be hate speech laws. Because that law and what hate speech is determined by the person who makes the law. And the thing about the person who makes the law is, how did you elect that person anyway? Because there were two choices and you didn't really care for either of them, but the one was in the party that you're a member of. That's like how everyone's voting. So you don't even know who these people are. You just see them on the screen. They must have money behind them. Otherwise, you wouldn't see their face. Only them or the other person. There's no way you're voting for the blue side, so you're voting for the red guy. Or vice versa, either way. It's like who all of our representatives are. Same people who never return your phone call. It's like, I don't feel very represented. I've left a lot of calls to my representatives. You guys have seen a lot of the calls I made over the years. I never got a call back. I don't feel represented. And I feel like my call is important. I feel like I'm dropping some really important information. How many times have I called politicians about 74 in these sick rituals that keep getting played out to dupe and manipulate the world, to make them want to hate the other side? That's the other thing, too. The word hate literally has 74 encoded. And again, like from World Trade Centers on the 74th meridian to what's going on with Gaza while it's 74 years old. Again, some of the people that come on, they're referring to the other humans as not humans, beasts. And again, the mainstream media, the people dressed up all nice who never swear and just talk so calmly as they read the teleprompter. Again, they're not saying anything mean about Gaza either, but they're just reading their death headlines like it's nothing and getting all emotional about anything sad for the Israelis. And then what's annoying too is I get people who leave comments like, oh, so what, you only care about... It's like, dude, nowhere in my video was I taking anyone's side. I'm just pointing out the things that are wrong that everybody should see through. People are so invested in that. It's got to be this side or that side. That's why they have these illogical responses where they're coming at you like you did something you didn't do. By the way, this Fox News headline, and nobody bats harder for Israel than Fox News. For all you guys who think that's the woke. That's the woke station, Fox News these days. That's the real woke. They know what's going on Fox News. Didn't you hear Sean Hannity say how shameful it was to mandate jabs, and then at the end of his big angry rant, he went on about how he has all the jabs and he's been totally healthy and he'd recommend everybody goes out there and gets totally boosted. It's like, oh yeah, this is the opposition network right here. Nice endorsement, Sean. What was the point of the rant? It wasn't as bad as Anderson Cooper's, though. I'll never forget Anderson Cooper. That's something like that. As sad as it is, that might be like the most provoking thing that might be my last thought. I still can't believe Anderson Cooper got away with saying on TV that you weren't a real man if you weren't jabbed as they went to commercial break sponsored by Pfizer. I was just like, oh my God. A guy that literally gets plugged. And isn't it sick, like how much fear he pushes all year, especially in recent years with COVID and everything? And then on, New Year's Eve, he's got his boyfriend on there and they're drunk together and they're just having such a great time. It's like the mob down below is wearing their slave muzzles. These two guys are practically making out on TV. Anderson Cooper slurring his words. It's like, what are these rituals that we're watching? It's bullshit New Year when everything's dead. Like, things are supposed to be new in the spring when the flowers are coming out. That's the New Year. These people, it's the new time to start over the year of increasing the body counts. It's a fresh year, you guys. We got to get the kill count up. There's always like 5 celebrities and their children dead New Year's Eve, January 1st every year. Nobody blinks an eye. I suppose the average American's like, well, they're probably old and partying, man, just like we were. Probably too much on the body. Okay. I think we need to look into these things more. Wasn't it like 3 drummers this year on New Year's Eve? We've been talking about why the dead drummer always happens first through Gematria. Drummer equals death equals murder equals killing equals RIP equals New Year's. Go figure. But yeah, this headline right here, Fox News promoting the killing of this man. And you know what? This whole Hamas thing, it's so obvious that it's funded by intelligence. So obvious. That's why the rituals are so perfect every time. It's a controlled opposition. It's meant to be the bully that Israel needs to fight so that they can bomb the hell out of more children and women and expand their territory more. I mean, it's an obvious game. It's called a false flag. YouTube has deemed that a term of hate speech over the years. Trust me, I've lost a lot of videos for the false flag word, but... And for all of you guys who don't support me, I hope you realize that despite all the censorship and attacking my income and cars crashing through my house on Christmas Eve and all the shit that I've put up with, I've never stopped doing the work and putting out content, and I continue to do the things that will likely bring more problems into my life. And that's what everyone should be doing, because that's what sacrificing is for the right thing. And I got Sweet Lady over here. She's sweating it more than ever in a while now because of just getting harassed at her own work. And we know that I'm getting these hate speech things now from Patreon, and Sweet Lady's getting harassed at work on the same day. People calling her up, pretending to be authorities, somehow tracking down where she is. Again, I hope you guys appreciate how I keep pushing forward. And again, there's something to learn in my story for even all my haters. Well, what happened when I found out that I couldn't be hired as a school teacher anymore because they didn't like what I wrote in my first book? That was the first time I tried to monetize the work, and thankfully there were enough good people in the world to financially support that made it sustainable. There weren't a lot, though. And that was in fall of 2018. It's putting in more than 5 years of work at that point for free. Saying, hey, you know what, you guys? I just found out that my degree's no longer worth anything because I'm pretty much blackballed from teaching for what I wrote in my book. And again, it's just because the authorities have been deeming all my stuff hate speech the whole time. That's why. They've drawn the line that I'm in a hate speech for exposing these things. You know what I realized that was really messed up also? How many times have I taught about the Talmud in 113? I happened to notice that what happened to Sweet Lady yesterday, funny enough, it was 113 days after her June 25th birthday. I thought, people, they're really playing games, man. Look at this guy's name, Gematria, though. Yaha Sinwar, 144, 54, 153, like as you would order. And the 54 is the big one, really. Well, they're all big. What a name, too, right? Sinwar. We've talked about this guy's name in the past. The Jesuits, a military order. His name the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. And the 54 is the big one because terrorism's 54. Remember Osama bin Laden, supposedly killed on his 54th day of being 54 years old. The word Islam is also 54. Yaha Sinwar, dead man walking. It might be another story. They might blow up like a wedding or something. Be like, failed intelligence blows up wedding trying to kill, what's his name? Sinwar. How about this nice post today from CNN? A lot of stories like this, almost one like this every day now. Zamir Lopez, an 8-year-old with dance moves and rap skills, killed by gun violence in his Jersey home. The same people who syndicate this news are the same people who've syndicated a lot of commercial music that's made it really cool to, be a gangsta and smoke people and sell big rocks and have fancy jewelry for it. It's been a culture promoted by the same people. And again, I mean, you can even have these kind of songs on a YouTube platform, and the artist can make a ton of money off it. But I can't have my message out here that gets almost no recognition already. I can't have my message out here, and there's no way that can be monetized. My message is dangerous. What I'm doing is dangerous. Some rap lyrics that literally can promote, sexual abuse, drug dealing, murdering, all kinds of things, even racism. I mean, just like an acceptable word in hip hop music is to refer to white people as crackers. And it's like you'll always see how in the media you'll see Jewish people come on the television and they'll equate their struggle with the black struggle, and sometimes they'll even like Bill Maher will like elaborate on it. Bill Maher will elaborate and say things like, you know, that's why we might get a little bit more leg room because of the history, but then he'll say, but maybe it's not right either. But that's the underlining mentality is that the events of recent history is why, say, for example, you can promote a young black man who's mad at crackers, but you couldn't have some young white supremacist rapper who's mad at the black community, right? So that would never be tolerated. It's an injustice. There'd never be a black or a white entertainment television at this day and age. Well, but black people's joke is kind of fair. They're like, well, it's always been white entertainment television. That's why we just get our one channel BET. But remember, I mean, you're seeing how they code the numbers over BET. 106 in Park, the hit show that made BET back in the day with the music videos that was usually on after people got out of school, end of the workday. But 106 in Park, I mean, you learn Gematria, small way, Black Lives Matter, 106. Forwards, Black Power, 106. Here, just to show you all the 106. Black Lives Matter. And again, the power of this knowledge, we'll get to why it matters. Black Lives Matter 106. Black Power 106. The word black alone 106. The first black mayor in New York City, the 106th. I just said that in a video the other day, and a guy left this nasty comment about, you're a moron, Eric Adams isn't the 106th mayor. It's like, that's not what I said. I said the first black mayor of New York was the 106th. And what I also said is he's the 110th, and these numbers go with prophecy. And like I've been educating about for years, the Old Testament, the rituals being applied. Again, you guys, look at the word slave. See how it's 59 forward, 76 in reverse, just like Negro, 59, 76, just like blues, just like Rasta. Again, teaching about this is not racist. It's about how in the Bible, Ephesians 6, 5 through 9 are the most infamous verses about slavery, and how Acts 7:6 is about the 400 years of slavery in America, and then how that nation will get punished. And just like how we accurately forecasted that after August 2019, marking 400 years of slavery in America, this nation would be punished, because that verse is in Acts 7:7, and United States is 77, you know? Big time numbers. Secret Society 77. Freemasonry is Judaism for the Gentile. Judaism is 77 forwards, 112 in reverse. Zionist the other way, 77, 112, 9/11. Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian, 77 minutes after taking off. None of this is said in a hateful way. And it's not to blame all Jews or even all Zionists, because only a small group of people are responsible for what happened on 9/11. I'm just saying the code they're working by. If you're aware of this code, you can see a thing like why the Jets might be the Eagles and become 1-12 against them, while they're talking about Israel's next 9/11 and the Balfour Declaration is about to turn 106 years old on 1/12. And we've already been documenting how it's going on in the NFL. Again, if you got here late, I was talking about how my post for this NFL week about the notes for why the Jets might get their first win against the Eagles, and why they becoming 1-12 could fit in with this whole Zionist, Jewish, prophecy, Catholic Church, Balfour Declaration, how it could all fit in at this moment, in light of what we document on Columbus Day. For pointing that out, now in trouble for hate speech. And this is the platform where I get the majority of my revenue from today. So, I mean, if this happened, it would remind me of the Ides of March all over again. And it's just like, it's a joke. It's a joke. If we had a real Congress right now, I mean, they would have stopped all this stuff big tech's doing, because they'd say, all right, we have this problem between the private world and the public world. And we understand that right now the internet is the thing that controls the populace. It's where people are speaking, interacting, essentially living, and the American way is not alive and well on the internet. What America is under attack on the internet, and right now America is the internet. And they've been flexing, right? Because when Donald Trump was the sitting president, what happened? He got suspended. The president couldn't even have a voice on social media. It's all symbolic, too. It was a big ritual. The whole Alex Jones thing was a big ritual, and then he made even more money because then it went to his own website. Again, Alex Jones is part of this cabal. He's what's called controlled opposition. But, yeah, I mean, there's so much information that I've worked so hard to put out that should be up on the web, and it's not there because of this thing they call hate speech that they can just use so politically. Here, you want to know how bad it was for me, guys? How cheap it was? I would have monetized my product a little bit sooner. This is the first book I wrote, Letters and Numbers. It doesn't have a cover and a jacket on it, and the only way you can get this book printed is by sending it to lulu.com. But I mean, this is a big book, dense. It's not like it's big print. I mean, it's a ton of work in here, and I was nearly done with it, and I never had my YouTube channel deleted, and I announced, I said, okay, I'm gonna be gone for about 2 weeks. I'm just gonna put the finishing touches on this book I've been working on, and as soon as it's available for pre-order, where you get, I'll let everybody know. I'd never tried to raise any money, and I'd been living on my savings because I want to speak out. I just saw how bad things were getting in 2013. It was bad working in the public school system. You couldn't actually teach kids anything that was meaningful. You get slapped on the wrist. I taught children about how strange it was that Martin Luther King Jr., this is when I was a fifth grade public school teacher in the United States in the Seattle area, I got in trouble for teaching about Martin Luther King Jr. giving a speech a year to the day of his assassination called Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence. And I showed how he was demonized for criticizing U.S. military agenda. And, I was pointing to the chart. I said, does that seem like the American spirit for him having this opinion about how devastating the U.S. military was for us as a populace? Again, everything you pointed out in that speech was like how people go over to fight these wars and they lose their hearts and their minds, and then they come back with all these drug addictions and all this violence, and then they take it out on their families, and then it ends up on the streets. And he essentially said, we'll never have peace in this world if we have a military with policy like we have now. So for me, teaching about that, I got a talking to, and I was told, let's just stick to I have a dream. You've upset some other people, and that wasn't part of the curriculum. And it's just like the kids, you shouldn't refer to children as kids, I've been told, but the students, the young people, they loved it when great class discussion. And you just can see how sharp young people can be. Their heads aren't all full of crap yet. And I was laying it out in a way like, don't you think this is strange? What do you think about this? I mean, what are the odds that he would die exactly a year to the day later? If I knew Gematria back then, I probably would have taught to him. I didn't know Gematria when I was teaching in public school. But once I stepped outside of the system and took a break and didn't have a 9-to-5 and was just doing research and trying to figure out something that I could contribute to the world to stop what I see coming, what's happening right now, a world where you can't speak and it's just endless lies and fear and agendas and big corporations ruling over you and making politicians through the government. I mean, that's what we have, you guys. That's why I just stopped back then. I said, I'm going to figure out a way to do something to maybe spark a change. And I feel like I found something that could do that. I just see that humanity is just not there yet. I hope we're planting seeds that blossom someday, but it doesn't feel like they're going to blossom in time right now. And the thing is, I mean, they keep doing this. It's going to make it harder and harder for them to ever blossom. This internet where they might just censor like literally everything unless it just toes the Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, whatever line that is. I don't know if Wolf Blitzer did an internship at the CIA like Anderson Cooper did. And by the way, if you guys ever see Anderson Cooper in person, hey, I saw him in the early 2000s on the Arizona State University campus. I was at Arizona State from 2001 to 2005. We had the debates down there between Bush and Kerry, the two members of Skull and Bones. Just blatant mockery. Two members of a secret society that allow 15 members per year. That's how exclusive that 2004 election was. But Anderson Cooper, he was down there. So were all the big news pundits. They all were set up on campus. And I was seeing Anderson Cooper up close. And man, he looked just wretched. I was like, what is wrong with this guy? I thought he was younger because they put a lot of makeup on TV. And I just imagine what he looks like now. It's 18 years later. Like he like I swear to God, his skin had like the complexion of a snake. That's the thing where like I think David Icke's tripping, but from seeing Anderson Cooper, so I wonder, I'm like, well, I ever saw one of these things David Icke's talking about. And David Icke's looked like a total agent the last 3 years too, by the way. But or maybe all along, maybe that's why people even know his name. If you don't know who David Icke is, he has a true conspiracy theory that we are ruled over by the reptilians, like a hybrid. And it'd be biblical, right? Because the serpent is the deceiver in the Bible. So it's like a snake race. But yeah, I remember Anderson Cooper. I just thought, God, something's wrong with that guy's skin. Jeez. Unless I just seen him like after like the worst sunburn ever, and just I don't know, but he looked like a hot mess. So I always think about that. Back to the news. Just you for the new person here, this wouldn't be the most convincing example to you, but it's the same stuff once you just learn to recognize. They got to post this story about this murdered young child who's a rapper. Just reminding you about the history of what commercial rap music's promoted. And they got to post it at 8:38 a.m. because murder's 83 and the small way it's 38. And the song Murder by Numbers came out in 83. And we're always talking about these numbers with dead rappers that are reported from shootings. Lil Zaji is his name, equals 75. CNN publishes this story on the day, leaving 75 days left in the year. Ivor Robson of Golf's The Open dead. Notice he began his ritual in the Open in 75. In 75, Ivor Robson began introducing the golfers at the Open. And now he dies this morning, October 17th, the day leaving 75 days left in the year. And understand, you guys, this is just what I do each day. And this is what I get taken down for each day. He's dead at age 83, the Open 83. Been doing this at the Open since 75. Again, dead on the day, leaving 75 days left in the year. Everything in the news today is 75. Ukraine bombing Russia the hardest on the day, leaving 75 days. Israel 75. Today, it was October 17th in Israel that they began attacking Hezbollah. And Hezbollah since 1975. Hezbollah came out of the Lebanon Civil War. Can tell you who instigated that one. No doubt about it. These same Jesuits. But their roots are in that civil war, which began in 75. Then they begin attacking them today on the day leaving 75 days left in the year. Where's the hate speech? How about this? Mia Shem. They put this young woman with the pretty eyes in the news. This is the first kidnap victim from the attack on the music festival. How interesting is it? It's this way, you guys. Mia Shem, right? Look at her name in Gematria. 71, 35, 145, 46. Again, just to go through it again. It's the exact same as Catholic in every cipher. October 7th was Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days for the Popes. Again, it's very clear that Hamas is something like the Mujahideen, which the CIA funded to fight Russia and Afghanistan. And then Osama bin Laden was part of that, and then 9/11, and then us in Afghanistan on October 7th. Now we have Hamas. By the way, Hamas equals 42 and 15 like war, and it was 15 date numerology that it happened. But we have Hamas attacking the dancing Israelis on the anniversary of us invading Afghanistan. And we want to talk about all the earthquakes in Afghanistan, now earthquakes 107 like military, and all that we've documented with that same pattern and over. But, okay, the 71 piece, 35. Again, the war declared the next day, 35 days before the Superior General's birthday. Israel established on 14/5, like 145, like 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, like David Ben-Gurion equals 145. And 46. Temple Mount's 46, religion's 46, Catholics 46, JFK killed at age 46, Biden number 46, who's been in office since 73 as senator. Federal office in 73 when Yom Kippur War went down and World Trade Centers opened. And Netanyahu at the tail end to be in 73, and Gaza again equals 73 and 35 the other way. Hamas is 35 years old. I mean, think about it, you guys. Well, how is this so perfect? And it's obvious they try to get a girl out there with nice, clear skin, nice complexion, pretty eyes, This is meant to pull you in and provoke you in a certain way. Because you're watching CNN. What message are they trying to give you? Again, people are getting killed in Gaza. Their stats. Bad things are happening to Israel. It's very sad. Let's be very compassionate. Let's do what we can to help. Let's get behind America right now and how they can help. Here, call this line to donate right now. Here's this pretty girl. First video released. And again, the video, there's like almost nothing to it. It's like, how do I know that's even from Hamas? Here's something else to think about, too. This hostage situation arose on Disney's 100th anniversary. And why does that matter? Disney, cinema, theater. Disney was in Des Moines. Des Moines is named after the Knights Templar who was burned at the stake on Friday, October 13th in 1307, the order's founder, Jacques de Molay. Isn't it interesting how hostage and Des Moines overlap in every single cipher? 75, time out Israel being 75 and everything else. This is big focus today on the day leaving 75 days left in the year too. 30 like Bible, like Jesus' ministry begins at age 30. All the Saturn stuff going on right now. Saturn has the 30-year return. Saturn, Saturday. The war began on Saturday, just like the Yom Kippur War did. Yom Kippur is about atonement. Saturn's related to judgment and atonement. Hostage and Des Moines also go with 114, like World War, like Pearl Harbor, like Art of War, like history. 33. We say a lot of things about that. It's another Bible number. False flag number, secrecy number. Des Moines is kind of like a little secret society for kids where they learn a knowledge about the past that most other children don't. And isn't it funny how they mention how Disney was the 107th member of the Mother Chapter? I just think about that in light of October 7th and everything going down. It says, well, in truth, Walt Disney was a member of Des Moines and knew Dad Frank S. Land very well. Disney's birthday is yesterday, right? Disney equals 76, like how October 16th left 76 days left in the year. And the ref yesterday for the game, for Monday Night Football, Lane Clark, 76. We had Keenan Allen to score the first touchdown of the game. He wears number 13. It was the 13th meeting of Dallas and LA, and he was the 76th pick of the draft. It pays big to get the first touchdown, 10-1 odds. And again, he wore number 13 in the 13th meeting of LA and Dallas. LA equals 13, Dallas 13. They're the two cities that we call the 13 cities. The value of this knowledge, seeing through the script, how you can take advantage of it. She's 21 years old. Saturn equals 21, as does Jesuit. Saturn 21, Jesuit 21, Wars 21, Evils 21, Manipulation. Again, Saturn 21, if you had 1 through 6 together, it equals 21. Saturn's the 6th planet. 21's the 6th triangular number. So, look at this picture of her here. She almost looks like she could be a model with those eyes, right? She looks like she could be a fashion model, Mia Shim. And it's just meant to suck you in, all these stories. Women desire big, juicy lips. This girl's got super juicy lips, pretty eyes. It's just first video released. Everything made to pull you into their agenda. And what I hate about this is I watched this happen after 9/11, and I became public enemy number 1 in America for speaking out for the other side of the argument. And I can tell it's going to be a lot the same. It's gross. I want to find this story right here. I see this published story. I want to watch the CNN visual story, how they covered this one, and how much emotion's probably not in this story as it is in others. And the one I'm saying to is the one down below. Palestinian American boy who was fatally stabbed had just celebrated his 6th birthday. That's another thing they have up on the cover sheet. You guys know what's up with tomorrow, October 18th, when Joe Biden arrives in Israel, right? October 18th, 10:18, like Luke 10:18, where Satan comes to earth. Remember, Event 201 was on October 18th, 2019, the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. They're credited to the Jesuit order, right before the outbreak in Wuhan. But it was the sister simulation of Clade X, which was May 15th, 2018, exactly 666 days before the pandemic was declared on March 11, 2020. 666 goes with Satan. 1018 goes with Satan. So you have to think about these two things. And then May 15th, that's the day to celebrate Mercury, the trickster. It's Mercurialia. And coronavirus equals 155. So does Christianity. And they put this biblical theme on the whole coronavirus pandemic. But again, Event 201, where the Holy Bible's 201. The terminology in one place in the Bible for Satan is that old serpent, which equals 201, like the Holy Bible, like State of Israel, like Order of Illuminati, like the Jesuit order. Again, October 18th, coming up, anniversary of Event 201. It's going to be the day Biden is in Israel. Isn't it funny how it all comes together over and over? What I said at the beginning of the year when we predicted this on 12/29/2022 when Netanyahu came back. how it all fit in with the synagogue of Satan. And now 1018, again, the synagogue of Satan equals 223, like Philadelphia, a lot like the year 2023. Anthony DeVolder equals 223. That's the Catholic who claimed to be a Jew but was not, who goes by the name George Santos. In that same video on 1229, before they'd even put out his birth name, Anthony DeVolder, I was explaining how it was a tribute to the synagogue of Satan and why it fit in with the war in Israel this year. And before it happened, saying why it was coming. But yeah, the USS Gerald Ford's been deployed. October 18th is also the anniversary of Gerald Ford saying that we'll get the first female president when an old man dies in office and a woman VP takes his place. And he answered a little girl for how we'll get the first female president. Really weird answer. But that was October 18th, 1989. Gerald Ford did that. Going with the USS Gerald Ford now. And again, Kamala Harris was born the same day Herbert Hoover died, and Gerald Ford said that in the Herbert Hoover Library. Herbert Hoover is also associated with the Great Depression, and it was World War that got us out of the Depression. And right when all the analysis were saying, look, it's looking like the wheels are coming off the bus for the market, all of a sudden there's a war to get the financial machine chugging a little bit harder. Market jumps up 1,000 points post-war right away. Market was at 33,000 and declining right before the war. Boom, right up to 34. Murder 34, Jewish 34. Remember all the stuff we were documenting that was going on during Passover with 34? If you want to go back and watch those videos. But, yeah, and we called this. We called Kamala Harris getting picked the day she did because it was the date with the 59 connection for the 59th election, going with the slave, Negro, blues, Rasta, 59 history, Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year, Motown in 59, slave 59 forward, 76 in reverse, February, which ends on the 59th day of the year. The federal government recognized Black History Month in 76. It's back when Gerald Carter was president. He was the 38th president. D.C. on the 38th parallel. Number of death. Anyway, I've been covering that a lot. I don't want to go over all again, but Joe Biden on Wednesday, that's the day of the week named after Mercury, the only element on the periodic table that has an atomic mass of approximately 201. Remember what it has to do with Timothy McVeigh and his bombing of the Oklahoma City building. April 19th, 95, the day in history Ignatius Loyola became the first superior general. Timothy McVeigh, of course, is 201. Arrested in a Mercury. That's what Wednesday's named after. Mercury, the trickster, the deceiver. But again, none of this is hate speech. It's just all facts. Facts shouldn't go down as hate speech. So this is how they were hyping it yesterday. America since 1776 on the day, leaving 76 days left in the year. Walt Disney Day, 100th anniversary, Day Mole, ready to deploy. And then we said, do they do something today to escalate it further? What happens October 18th, the day leaving 74 days left in the year? I suppose October 19th, the day leaving 73 days left in the year, probably matters a lot. Again, we know they're going to keep doing rituals in these days, but these are important days. Because 74 goes with how old Gaza is. 73 goes with how old Netanyahu is, and how in 1973, the Yom Kippur War, David Ben-Gurion dying, Theodore Herzl on 7-3. The 73rd book of the Catholic Bible is Revelation. You know, death, destruction, warfare, end times, what a lot of people who are religiously indoctrinated think is going on right now. The prophecies being fulfilled, when in fact we're being manipulated by psychopaths who keep doing it. They keep drawing up the same play. Revelation 9:11 again. You guys know Revelation 9:11 is where Satan comes from the abyss. We talked about how for just in recent times, CNN for 2 straight days had up the same headline about how the Middle East is on the verge of the abyss, a word used over and over in Revelation. Don't forget the King of England. King Charles is 74 right now, and we all know what they did on his 74th birthday. The killings on Kings Road at the University of Idaho, where they said the killer lived in apartment 201. And then also the University of Virginia killings, the football team, Cavaliers, those who fought for King Charles Cavaliers. Arthur Greenwood, dead in 54. You know what I mean? They Live, released 201 days after Roddy Piper's birthday, where Cable 54 is the enemy of the world. The Jesuit Order 201, Jesuit Order 54. And again, Arthur Greenwood, dead at age 74 in his 75th year of life. Dead on 6/9. He pledged the New World Order. It was him that came out of his mouth pledging it to the Jews. New World Order 69, dead on June 9th. dead at age 74, thus in his 75th year of life. And the New World Order 174 thing, here, let's go back to that one right now. Let's go back to Blinken. See how nice they had it lined up with Blinken. Again, the 71st Secretary of State. Look how perfect it is. From let's see. From Blinken's birthday, April 16th. Let me see, did I put the screenshot in here? He's born April 16th, 62. From his birthday to the war starting, 174 days. His title is United States Secretary of State 174. Antony John Blinken, 85. October 7th leaves 85 days left in the year. Been a big theme as we've been talking about. And there's even more to it, but again, just a reminder that this isn't hate speech. And it's not to say that, oh, Netanyahu's Jewish and so is Blinken, so all Jews are responsible. It's to say, no, those men are both Jewish and they're both responsible. But the Pope's not Jewish, he's Catholic. He's definitely responsible. Superior General, Catholic, responsible. All these Jesuits I'm always calling out, the majority of them are Catholic. And again, it's not to say all Jews or Catholics are responsible. It's to say the people who are doing this and performing and participating in these rituals and who know that they're part of something that's devious, I mean, they must be. When they're just being moved around ritualistically and they're in this, they're operating in Washington, D.C., and not to mention Netanyahu went to school in the U.S. Netanyahu was used in the first Iraq War, back when Papa Bush was in office, to give testimony that proved to be false about murdered babies. Remember, it was the 12th of October that his office released the supposed 40 dead babies. They just used Article 40 as their justification to raid Israel. But baby, the word baby's 12. They said there were 40 dead babies, and they released one image with a big blur on it. So yeah, I'm mad because I think for speaking out and making these points, which I think are all fair and righteous, and aimed at like stopping the actual cabal and getting to actual human beings to not fight with each other over what they're being instigated, like in no way is this hate speech. And just with regards to how, here, when you guys think of hate speech, you probably think of, oh God, what's his name? The Chicago thing with the MAGA hat. Can't remember the guy's name now. Hold on. MAGA hat, free speech. He's an actor and he sings. Oh, I can't even think of the guy's name right now. Whoops, I wrote the wrong thing. Hate speech. Jussie Smollett. Look at this, you guys. I just want to go back to my old website. Let's see if the post still exists. It's another thing. Do the post still exist? I hope they do. I feel like every time I do this, though, I remind them more posts they should go back and delete. Oh, hold up. Jussie Smollett. All right, I have a lot of posts about Jussie Smollett, but I want you to see the hate speech ritual. Here, let me do it this way. Shoot, come on. Well, here, we'll scroll. We won't have to scroll down too far until we find what we're after. Okay. So, Jussie Smollett grand jury indictment, 16th felony counts for false police report. So this was a headline from March 8th, 2019, and the news about this began on January 22nd. So this was the 46th day of the story. Jussie Smollett 46, like hate crime, like Smollett, like Chicago where it happened. And I have so many posts, but if you go throughout the time, I noticed there that Smollett, the surname alone, was even 46. There's been so many stories like this over the years where it's like they have a ritual in the news. Here, Dylan Roof, hate 46. Let's see. Dylan Roof. Am I spelling it right? This kid who supposedly shot up the church in Charleston. I have too many posts. I hate how these search engines never sort things right as well as they should. But a million things I've been documenting over the years where they just do these hate crimes and just put 46 all over it. And anyway, it's all there. And I wish I could just say, hey, go back. Once upon a time, there would have been a video up that would have just been like, Dylan Roof, hate speech, 46. Had you searched that in YouTube, the video would have popped right up. You go back and watch what I put up years ago. And then the other videos, the 50 other videos we would have done on hate speech in the news in 46. The point I'm making is they systemically program these phrases and they put it to a numerical code and they keep making news about it by a code. And then you see how much of it's just like contrived crap. Remember Dylan Stormroof? Part of what provoked him is that he was a white supremacist who shot people in a historically black church. And then when the police found him, by the way, on Route 74, and white supremacist equals 74, that part of the story was that they took him to a Burger King because he was hungry. People are like, how gross is that? He does this horrible thing and then the police took him to feed him before he was booked? Like, meanwhile, we're showing the latest story of a black guy who wasn't doing anything and got shot in the back by a white cop. Remember, that's what they were doing in the news at the time. All this stuff to provoke. Every day, news to provoke, news to divide, more psychological operations, more programming. I mean, that's why I've been here every day and been busy every day, because every day there's just more crap to show how it's the same old thing. And we're a lot closer to the cliff, just like I said we would be. Back then I said I'm doing it right now. I've dropped what I'm doing in my life to make a big chunk of my time to speak out, because we're being taken to a very bad place. I don't want to see how much it can get worse in this post-9/11 era where it's nothing but lies and fear and war and BS and, again, huge corporate agendas, huge fascist agendas. If you guys don't follow me on my website, again, that's GematriaEffectNews. Also, I try to post on a lot of the social media places. Get out the word everywhere you can, because you never know where you'll be censored next. But lots of just important updates, calling out trolls and parasites as well. But just, T.O., the former 49er, has his leg busted at age 49. He also played for Dallas, which equals 49, and this news breaks after Dallas's big win on primetime that they needed. First team in the NFC to become 4-2 in the year of the first ever Super Bowl on the 42nd day of the year. This guy, I've been documenting how he's on CNN and Fox calling Muslims beasts, and then I turn on my YouTube and he's the top thing in my feed. It's like, why is this here? I don't watch this kind of stuff. They want to make sure everywhere on all the screens, doesn't matter if it's CNN, Fox, YouTube, they're all controlled by the same cabal. And there's nothing hateful about using the phrase cabal. Again, a cabal, a group of people who are controlling information. That's what you guys are. It's not hate speech. That's a fact. If you're controlling information now even on YouTube, just like you're controlling it on the nightly news, that's very much in the way I'm teaching about it, that's very much Kabbalistic. It's not hate speech. It's gross you guys are doing this. But, yeah, again, just documenting just what's up. You think CNN's telling you more than you need to know here? We got this next great solar eclipse happening spring 2024. Start planning now. I just wonder. The last time we had a big eclipse in the Americas, that's the day the jab went live. When corona is terminology that relates to an eclipse. Part of the Jesuit logo is the eclipse. Why did CNN do their story like this for Walt Disney's birthday? 543 Disney characters posed for a group photo to mark the company's 100-year anniversary. A countdown? What are we counting down to? The magical world of Disney. You're about to burst out of the spell, and here's reality. It's not what you thought it was. You should listen to those people you called conspiracy theorists, who were actually just fact speakers, paying attention to what was going on in the world. Again, shot of Suzanne Summers from Three's Company. We covered the Suzanne Summers death in live. I did one stream the day she died. If you watch that stream, it's near the end of it. It's the one about the Israeli music festival and why it matters the day it happened, why it matters that it happened on Netanyahu's 283rd day of being in office. The name of the tragedy is 283. It's the 61st prime special number in this whole code of letters and numbers and sacred geometry. Pretty important stuff, but at the end of that video, we said, oh, look at that. Suzanne Summers from Three's Company, who lived in apartment 201 in the show, is now dead. When John Ritter died on September 11th, and they're talking about 9/11 a lot, and again, John Ritter died at age 54, and Jesuit order equals 54, and so does Jesuit priest, and he joked in Three's Company in a May 4th 5-4 episode that he was a Jesuit priest. Suzanne Summers also equals 54. 3 Abrahamic religions, Three's Company, the letter about 3 world wars, published on the Jesuit order's birthday, which is supposed to destroy political Zionism and Islam. So what's that mean? Like the New Testament prevails in the New World Order? Everyone will accept the new Jewish Catholic religion, that's spread across the world after the Jewish Messiah is confirmed as they build the third temple, because all Oxgamas blew up with the fireworks that were accidentally left at its foundation on November 5th. They'll tell the world Santa Claus left them there and they'll believe it. But, yeah, and Suzanne Summers dead at 76 the day before her birthday. Her birthday is the day leaving 76 days left in the year. Wonder if she ever did any films for Disney. She might have been this year's roaster for the Disney birthday. Thought the Templars were worshiping Baphomet. Well, that's not all they were doing. They were roasting human beings, eating them like Hannibal Lecter. You know The Silence of the Lambs equals 201? That movie about the feds working with serial killers? And again, you had the Bob Lee murder this year, and they had to show you his killer was in apartment 201. Again, the Kings Road killings. He had to live in 201. The professional. The first scene in the movie, he goes into hotel room number 201 and kills everybody. How about this one? Damian Harris, Buffalo Bills, primetime. Damian Harris taken off in the Damar Hamlin ambulance. DH. Can I get a witness to the mockery? Or am I the wacko? Maybe I'm the wacko documenting this all these years. Showing you what a ritual it was with Damar Hamlin, now Damian Harris. It's so bad. Here, again, this isn't hate speech to show the 75 encoding of this. And this article right here, this article is from December 2008. This article will be 15 years old this year, okay? Reading this article isn't hate speech. I got a 2-week suspension at either the end of last year or the beginning of this year for reading this article, and I didn't read it in a hateful way. I just read it in a way that I thought was righteous. It's just like, it's out there, it's open, it's arrogant, it's cocky, it's confident, but it's truthful. And I don't understand why there's Jewish people like the ones in the ADL that want to censor everything. Like, I don't say this in a hateful way, but to me it just makes it look like Jews are like wimpy losers. That's not an anti-Semitic remark. It's just when you're censoring all speech that you find critical of you, but you don't care about any other speech that criticizes any other group, and somehow you have the authority in the world to make that happen, which is happening. Again, that's how is that not like wimpy loserish? I feel like I'm giving you positive criticism so you can fix your place in the world and maybe stop some of the unwarranted hatred that comes towards Jews. Because that's the crazy thing about my predicament. I have to get censored for being supposedly anti-Semitic when I'm not, and then I also have to get attacked by people who claim I'm Jewish and a Mossad and a shill. And again, I could prove to any of those people that I'm not Jewish by simply pulling down my pants. And for anyone who doesn't get that comment, it's because Jews are circumcised, which should tell you what about me? It's like a simple math problem. But yeah, again, if I dare get censored again for reading this, that's bullshit. You're proving my point. There's nothing, this article's written by a Jewish person. Understand that before I even read it. It's written by Joel Stein, who's a proud Jew. 15 years ago. Back when YouTube, you actually searched for something, you found what you were looking for, back when they hadn't really started to censor anything, back when YouTube was a gold mine, Till about 2012, the censorship's just clicked up a notch every year since 2012. Actually, you could say it let off the gas a little since 2017, but it's been really bad. It's just they got so bad in 2017, they backed off a little bit. I couldn't even keep a channel up for 3 days. It got so bad in 2017. Once they started deleting, they just kept deleting. I couldn't keep a channel up for even a week. But here, we're going to read this article. Who Runs Hollywood? Come On, by Joel Stein, December 19th, 2008. Not written with any hate. I have never been so upset by a poll in my life. Only 22% of Americans now believe the movie and television industries are pretty much run by Jews, down from nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti-Defamation League, which released the poll results last month, sees in these numbers a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood. How deeply Jewish is Hollywood? When the studio chiefs took out a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times a few weeks ago to demand that the Screen Actors Guild settle its contract, the open letter was signed by News Corp President Peter Chernin, Jewish, Paramount Pictures Chairman Brad Gray, Jewish, Walt Disney co-chief Executive Robert Iger, Jewish, who's there for the 100th anniversary, is what's going down in Israel, as it's seemingly all synced up with Disney being Day-Mole and Israel's 75th anniversary. And like I've been saying for years, it looks like a well-oiled machine that was put in place a long time ago by this Kabbalistic code. But anyway, Sony Pictures chairman Michael Linton, surprise Dutch Jew. Warner Bros. Chairman Barry Meyer, Jewish. CBS Corp Chief Executive Leslie Moonves, so Jewish his great uncle was the first Prime Minister of Israel. MGM Chairman Harry Sloan, Jewish, and NBC Universal Chief Executive Jeff Zucker, mega Jewish. If either of the Weinstein brothers had signed, and it's funny, or never mind, I almost confused them with the Wachowskis and now the sisters. Weinstein brothers had signed, this group would have not only the power to shut down all film production, but to form a minyan with enough Fiji water on hand to fill a mikveh. And again, I'm not Jewish, so I actually don't get that joke. But I'm sure Jewish people do. The person they were yelling at in that ad was SAG President Alan Rosenberg. Take a guess. For people who don't get it, he's Jewish. The scathing rebuttal to the ad was written by entertainment super agent Ari Emanuel, Jew with Israeli parents, on the Huffington Post, which is owned by Ariana Huffington, not Jewish and has never worked in Hollywood. The Jews are so dominant, I had to scour the trades to come up with 6 Gentiles, a Gentile's a non-Jew, in high positions at entertainment companies. When I called them to talk about their incredible advancement, 5 of them refused to talk to me, apparently out of fear of insulting Jews. And he's making the point, like, they want to keep their position. And if they offend, they might lose that position. The 6th, AMC president Charlie Collier turned out to be Jewish. So he thought there were 6, but actually there were only 5, and those 5 wouldn't speak. As a proud Jew, I want America to know about our accomplishment. Yes, we control Hollywood. Without us, you'd be flipping between the 700 Club and Davy and Goliath on TV all day. And you know what? It's a dig at Christianity, and I don't think it should be censored. I think it's funny, you know? Again, why can't people just have a sense of humor about things? Like, where's actual, real humility? You know, why can't Jewish, Christian, and Jews and Christians be friends and make fun of, like, the stupid things about their religion? They might actually think about what they believe in. People just, it's the butthurt people, it's the sore people that are the problem. You know? It's like, get a sense of humor. You know? Think about what the other person's saying. Oh, that hurt your feelings? Well, you know, don't be so sensitive. It goes on. So I've taken it upon myself to reconvince America that Jews run Hollywood by launching a public relations campaign because that's what we do best. Interesting about the public relations. How about the one going right now for Israel? Gaza. Those are statistics. Every Israeli, that's, you know, we're going to bring on a witness and tell you about how sad it is and how much you support whatever military effort we've got to put in there for Israel. We might have to go in there and invade Gaza where almost everyone's a woman and child. Drop some bombs on them. Because Hamas, which is clearly intelligence, like I'm exposing how corrupt these governments are that need to be exposed that do this. Because these are psychopaths. They want genocide, you guys. Isn't it obvious? They don't care that they're killing women and children. They look at these people as less than them. You know, I can't relate. I can't even hardly step on insects. I always want to put the insects outside. Some of you might have trouble believing that because of the things I rant about. You guys, I rant the way I rant to make a point. Why would someone be so mad to say the things that Zachary K. Hubbard says on stream when he's talking about how people just deserve to be wiped off the face of the earth like it's a lyric in a Tool album, you know? But anyway, coming back to this. So I've taken it upon myself to reconvince America that Jews run Hollywood by launching a public relations campaign because that's what we do best. I'm weighing several slogans, including Hollywood, more Jewish than ever. Hollywood, from the people who brought you the Bible. And again, they did. It's just like, if you listen to some Jewish rabbis, it's funny listening to them complain about the New Testament. Because certain Christians really hate on Jews. He's like, listen, I mean, like, these people are crazy. They have some book glued onto the back of ours, and then they hate us even though they're trying to copy our style. These people are like plagiarists, you know? But that's the kind of stuff that creates divisiveness. But at the same time, it's like, well, put yourself in his shoes and think about why he's saying what he's saying. I bet he wouldn't be saying that if he hadn't Christians come bark up his door about what a shitbag Jew he is. Just like, how many times have I been called a shitbag Jew? I'm not even Jewish. And you start getting enough shitbag Jew comments, you start just saying nasty things back at who's saying it. And again, I have often made the point that a lot of these people are supposed Christians who don't know anything about Christianity, and they're people who also are like a call for an uprising and Russian vids who you don't know their face or name, and seem to just be on here contributing to the world division and gatekeeping information. Two guys who you don't know who they are, who claim to be Christians, who've dedicated a lot of their time to slandering my name. And why? My knowledge is actually helpful. What a call for an uprising ever teach anybody? You know? Masonic checkerboard flooring, whoop-de-doo, everyone knows that. Russian vids, the earth is flat, and Bill Gates is not Bill Gates, but, Bill Hicks. Not to diss the name Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks, who was a funny person ahead of his time, who had some enlightening comedy to get people to think about the world. Supposedly Bill Hicks is Alex Jones. I don't think they are. Yeah, you can find some images where they look similar, and you can find some images where they look totally different. Plus, Bill Hicks is about 4 inches taller than Alex Jones. He was 6 foot something. Alex Jones is a short guy. Relatively short for American standards. He'd be tall in Burma. In Burma, everyone's 5'2". It's funny. It's like, how did we get to be so different in the world? How come everyone in Burma is like 5'2"? Except for the Burmese UFC fighter that they call the Python. He's big. Anyway. Again, that slogan, Hollywood, if you enjoy TV and movies, then you probably like Jews after all. And again, yeah, how many of these Jew haters do love their Hollywood movies? Yeah, it'd be funny to like look at the all the people that harass me and claim that I'm Jewish and Mossad. It'd be funny to see how much money they've spent on Hollywood in the last decade versus how much time they spent watching my content, never donated $1, even though it could have actually helped them. Anyway, I called ADL chairman Abe Foxman. And by the way, the current ADL chairman, Jonathan Greenblatt, he got installed on the 201st day of the year. And remember, Anti-Defamation League equals the Jesuit order. Equals 84, like how they declared the war on a Sunday, the day leaving 84 days left in the year. You can't get more Jesuit than Sunday. I called ADL chairman Abe Foxman, who was in Santiago, Chile, where he told me to my dismay, he was not hunting Nazis. He dismissed my whole proposition, saying that the number of people who think Jews run Hollywood is still too high. The ADL poll, he pointed out, showed that 59% of Americans think Hollywood execs do not share the religious and moral values of most Americans. And 43% think the entertainment industry is waging an organized campaign to weaken the influence of religious values in this country. I mean, can we not have a debate about that? Like what? So like at this point in the game, if you said something like that, would you be just shut down for being anti-Semitic? I mean, don't you think mainstream culture is kind of like degraded humanity and values and the way people should treat each other as well as themselves? How many young girls now think like the golden ticket is just essentially selling their body on videos on the internet, and they're getting paid well for it? I mean, in one way, it's like, well, good for them. They can pay the bills and fulfill the American dream, but how did they make it? I mean, is it... It's like, was that the spiritually right thing to do? I mean, are your children going to be looking at that someday and seeing mom dancing all naked and doing God knows what? Is that going to be horrifying for your child one day and make them more sexually perverse? I mean, that's why we got to really like think about what's being the influence and like, okay, is it right or is it wrong? Let's think about the good and the bad. Yeah, everything's good and bad, but usually one side weighs more. I'd say mainstream culture has made people pretty perverse. I mean, look at music, right? My mom and dad's generation, growing up as children in the 50s and 60s, a lot of the songs on the radio, well, it started to change really in the 60s and 70s, but a lot of those early songs, they're growing up with children on the radio. You know, radio's a newer thing. People on the radio, they're listening to songs, music. But a lot of those songs, like kind of a wholesome message, you know, treat her like a lady, you know, find somebody, make them the one, love them with everything. Just songs like this. A lot of songs like that. And then kind of as time goes on, you know, a little bit more fun. Maybe not getting super devious, but maybe a little sexually promiscuous. You know, by the 2000s, you got Nelly Furtado doing the song Promiscuous. But, you know, a little bit more experimental. And I'm not sure. I mean, conversations need to be had. It's hard to have a conversation about anything because everyone's so sensitive and censorship, and you put up a real thing and then it's taken down. But it's like there should be real conversation. That's the kind of thing I'd like to tune into on CNN if I have to watch cable news. I'd like to see real conversations about real things going on in America. Let's get real people to come on and present the point of, is it good to have, 18-year-old girls selling their body all over the internet now because that's a new commodity and form of commerce? I mean, is this good for the long run? I can see why a young 18-year-old girl would do it. She's 18. She's showing off. Everything's good about this right now. Money's coming in. But again, what is it in the future when maybe it started out she was dancing. Next thing you know, she's doing other things. And then again, now she's got things she's got to worry about. And it's coming back to haunt her. And like I said, she's got kids and her kids are seeing this someday. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe somebody say, well, the kid gets to learn the story of where they came from. That was mommy doing her thing. I mean, you know what I mean? But there are all these things in society pushing people to have these kind of behaviors. More and more people want to experiment with homosexuality. Some people say that's a good thing. But is it? Or is it being pushed for population control, just like everything else? Why are we being pushed certain ways? What's it really do for society? I always make the point about the 47th state, New Mexico, and the Roswell incident in 47. Remember that caused a division in some households because very faithful households, biblical households, Christian households, they don't want to hear about this stuff from outside of this earth, which isn't biblical. That goes against what they believe and understand about the world. This is contradictory. And isn't it funny how in the year 47 they did that when in Gematria Christian equals 47, like government, like authority, and it was a story that was sort of sanctioned by the government. And again, in Catholic Bibles, the 47th book is Matthew, where the Christian section begins. But anyway, I'm getting tangential, but at the same time, all these things that are given to us that create these frictions from, say, Roswell in 47 to... it's funny. Somebody who follows me, like I was too young to understand it, but maybe other people can resonate with this. But somebody who follows me is the exact same age as my sister. They're both born in 1971. And, he's followed for a long time, and he made the point to me. He said, something I haven't brought up, but you've brought up a lot of times, is that when you were growing up, your sister only dated black men. And that's true. When we were growing up, she only dated black men. She was in high school. She got out like around 1990s when she finished high school. But she only dated black men growing up. And we did grow up in a predominantly black area. We were the only white kids in the immediate neighborhood we grew up in. But he said to me, the thing was, at that time, the media was like really making it cool for white women to date black guys. And I said, well, that's interesting because my sister was always highly influenced by the television. And I said, I don't remember those types of things from me at that age. He goes, I bet that was part of the reason. And I said, well, it could be true. But I said, we did grow up in a black area. But I just wonder if other people know that. Again, the point I'm making, and there's nothing wrong with that either, in my opinion. But just how impressionable society is, and when something happens on TV, how much it can just shape the behavior of people, and then they just start doing that. And again, I mean, mainstream culture has, like I said with the music, it went from nice lovey-dovey songs to a little bit more sexually promiscuous. At one point, before it even got there, it was like Elvis dancing around, gyrating too much, and that was making the girls all excited. And I think it did, because my mom's generation, all her sisters, and it seemed like everybody she knows, they all got pregnant, shotgun wedding, barely out of high school, still in high school. Culture been changing, but it can be influenced by things. It's just the music back then, it was more wholesome, and now it's in a place where it's like dark and demonic. I mean, it's like, fuck the other sex, fuck your friend's girlfriend. Just everything is bad. It's like, what the hell? Like bragging about stealing on the other guy's girl. It's like, okay, are these things that we really want people doing in society and thinking they're cool? What, you think you're going to be the next millionaire mega rapper because you go and, steal some guy's girl? Again, that's like flexing your ego, but what's the kind of stuff that comes out of that? When you go and purposefully cheat on somebody else's relationship, what comes out of that? There's like negative emotions that come out of that. Sometimes people kill each other over that. And those other negative emotions, and maybe they don't kill the other person, but maybe they hold those negative emotions and then they take it out in the rest of their relationships. It's like you're doing something in the world that makes the world more bad. And again, I mean, sometimes, I just wonder, like, finding this information and teaching it this way, I always make the point. I grew up as a child who believed in Jesus. I was raised Lutheran, and I prayed every night from as long as I can remember until about age 12 when I lost my religion. And I was always praying for Jesus to help the world in all the ways that I saw all the problems and to help me help the world. I want to help the world. I was praying for that. Give me something so I can do something more. And, I think, I'm sure a lot of people had prayers, but maybe God really is watching. Because I know something that, like, if there is a judgment day, something that I've been good about in this world is I always respected like boundaries and lines and tried not to do anything sexual with anybody that I thought might hurt or cross someone else, because I know how important those emotions can be. And again, growing up, you get a lot of opportunities. For whatever reason, girls like me growing up, and I had like friends' girlfriends coming at me, and I always just shunned them away and said, like, don't even mention this or bring it up. I don't even want my friend to be upset. I had girls accuse me of being gay for like pushing them away for these situations. And again, I think that sometimes I think back and think, ooh, it might have been fun, man. She was really cute, but I know that I did the right thing. I didn't create like some cataclysm in the world that hurt somebody emotionally and broke their trust. And again, I really do think the world in a way has become broken because of how we've been manipulated sexuality. I think that's been one of their main tools for a lot of different reasons. Again, I'm not saying that I think people should only have sex within marriage. I'm not saying that's right, but I just think they've instigated people into so many negative sexual behaviors. There's so much mistrust in the world. There's so much treating. There's so many cheating. There's so many broken households over this. And I think a lot of it has happened because of the entertainment industry. I think it's had a huge role in it. So yeah, this part where he's saying, we did this, and man, isn't it good? Like, to me, I appreciate that he did this, and I just wish it could be like a real conversation. Here, hey, for all you Jews who are so proud of how you run Hollywood, do you guys really think that doing this, do you really think it's good for society? Do you really think that it's actually good? Is this good? Is it good that right now there's probably like 1,000, in the time I've just been talking about this little part of the video, there's probably like 1,000 more videos online of like girls selling their body who are between ages 18 and who knows what. I don't know, there might be grandmas doing it now. They got to pay the bills. Not enough Social Security. So, be sad. Still having to sell the body to survive in this world of abundance. Age 80. It's that, who sang that song? Donald Trump, he was using their song. What's that group? They sing Backstabbers, Money, Money, Money. The Train, Come and Ride the Train. I can't think of the group right now. But, they sing the song about money and, how sad it is that, or is it right? How money just making people do all these crazy things, including young women selling their body. I want to get back to reading the rest of this article. We got to finish it. Okay, so we were talking about how, how Hollywood could be negatively influencing the values of the country. I think, yeah, I think definitely. But then he goes on, that's a sinister canard, Foxman said. It means they think Jews meet at Cantor's Deli on Friday mornings to decide what's best for Jews. Foxman's argument made me rethink. I have to eat at Cantor's more often. This guy with all the jokes. And that's the thing, you got to give Jews credit. They have proven to be funny. That is kind of why they rule the world of entertainment. And they claim to have a higher intellect, and technically comedians tend to be more intelligent people. So that's why it's like, but let's have a fair conversation about it. Let's acknowledge the good and the bad, and maybe we can get a consensus within the Jews who run Hollywood, as he writes about, to maybe not poison the well so much. But at the same time, it seems that that's what people want to watch. And I think the reason people always want to watch murder and death and violence and sex and all the things that get big ratings, like every Martin Scorsese movie, is because in some way, like, our actual lives were neglected of elements of those things, which I think are part of the human experience. Like, maybe life's not as violent as it should be in the natural world, where you're more out in the elements and you have to contend with predators. Might just be part of the human experience. It's like hardwired into us. But now we live in this world of comfort and convenience, so they got to pacify us with nonstop entertainment. It's like, it makes it feel like it's part of our existence. Or is it that they're just trying to dehumanize us to violence, so that when, the chickens finally come home to roost, it's like you were prepared for it. Maybe it's some kind of, debate about these things too, but, anyway, coming back to the article, that's a very dangerous phrase, Jews control Hollywood. What is true is that there are a lot of Jews in Hollywood, he said. Instead of control, Foxman would prefer people say that many executives in the industry happen to be Jewish. As in, all 8 major film studios are run by men who happen to be Jewish. So yeah, so I just like the way he wrote his article though, because he's like listen to this guy. He's talking bullshit. I'm over here pointing out all the movies you're watching, pretty much, unless you watch some really B budget film that you probably didn't want to watch. It came from a Jewish studio. Like, why ever run from this? It just makes you look guilty. And here, it's hard because I'm even trying to stick up for them. I really don't think they are the guilty party. I think some of these people are just so sensitive. And I think it's because they grew up in a world where they heard about all these horror stories and they're worried they're going to happen again. These people are actually going to make the horror stories happen again by provoking people. You know? By taking away their rights and liberties, they're going to provoke the things they're afraid of. That's what I think. Then it goes on, but Foxman said he is proud of the accomplishments of American Jews. I think Jews are disproportionately represented in the creative industry. They're disproportionate as lawyers and probably medicine here as well, he said. He argues that this does not mean that Jews make pro-Jewish movies any more than they do pro-Jewish surgery. That's false, though. I mean, it's like, come on, let's be honest. How many Holocaust movies are there of the Native Americans? There's like a few movies that show how the natives got done dirty, you know? Now, how many movies are there about the Holocaust? You know, the Jewish one in World War II. How many is Steven Spielberg connected to that come out around the holidays when people are most emotional? I mean, come on. You know, I can get on here on YouTube and badmouth Native Americans and nothing's probably going to happen to my video. If I get on here and say bad things about Jewish people, that video is going to be down faster than you can snap your fingers. You know? I can rip on Christianity all day, as I often do. And again, I rip on Christianity because of how many bad Christians there are. You know, if you're not what I'm talking about, I don't know why you let it offend you. I also give Christianity the benefit of the doubt. I talk fairly out of both sides of my mouth, and the reason I have to talk both ways is because that's the perspective I have from living here on it. But he then goes on, though other countries I've noticed aren't so big on circumcision. And again, he's talking about America, where almost everybody's circumcised. So that would be the thing, too. If somebody was circumcised, you couldn't say that they were Jewish. But if somebody's not circumcised, you can definitely say they're not Jewish because you need to be Jewish, or you need to be circumcised to be Jewish. And again, that's my proof that I'm not. Someday we're ever going through like the next Holocaust and they've targeted the Jews again, those Jesuits. And they're like, this one's a Jew. I'll be like, hold on, let me take off my pants. Not because I'm gay. But then I'd feel bad. I'd feel bad. I'd be like, damn, this is weird, man. These Jews are getting killed around me in the new Holocaust. And I just got to save my life because I'm not cut. And I just wonder, like, had the world been different if, like, the Jews at Google and YouTube that were Jewish who censored my work for the ADL, I just wonder if, like, I could have saved these Jews, had these certain Jews at Google who were in the positions to censor, had they not done what they did. Isn't it an ironic position? And it's true, right? That's not anti-Semitic to say either. It has been predominantly Jewish people who've been going around lobbying for all this censorship and getting work like mine deleted. And again, that's not hate speech to say that. It's just a fact, you know? It's just a fact. And anyone who wants to argue it's not a fact, don't delete my video. Upload your counter video addressed to Zachary K. Hubbard about why it's not a fact. Where am I tripping about all the Jews in high places that are tearing down the First and Second Amendment and advocating for it? And again, that's not all Jews' fault. I'm not blaming all Jews. I'm just saying that why is it so predominantly Jewish? Just like why is Hollywood so predominantly Jewish? And why are there these fair arguments to say, well, it looks like a lot of things they're doing are not good for society? Undermining what America's about? There's no way you're going to get an argument from me that's good for society. Putting all this stuff out there about, being a gangster and drug dealer and, being like evil sexually. I mean, that's like what a lot of this stuff promotes. There's a big movie in the 90s with Sarah Michelle Gellar and I forget what the blonde guy's name is, Cruel Intentions. That movie was messed up, but just putting ideas out there, teaching you how to be a sexual predator, a manipulator. Yeah, I know for most of my life, man, I mean, just like everybody, I made mistakes, but I made a lot of righteous choices, and I don't appreciate being called a hate speaker and getting censored all the time because of some bullshit. Like again, putting out notes in how because of who controls the league, how they could be coding 112 for Zionism and Judaism in the Eagles beating the Jets, which did work out in light of the Balfour Declaration and everything I've been talking about for a decade. Again, if you guys got here late, I got in trouble on my payment support thing for my weekly football notes, and there was no hate intended, just the numeric, just like I teach about every week, how the games are rigged, how they pay tribute to history, how the language matters, how the numbers matter. Again, saw something and why the Eagles might the Jets might very well upset the Eagles, based on the Balfour Declaration and Gematria, and a pattern I've talked about a million times. Again, Catholicism equals 112. The Jesuits operate in 112 countries. The Jesuits are a Catholic and Jewish alliance. Judaism equals 112 like Catholicism. So does Zionist. They're all 112, like 1 in 12, what the Jets became versus the Eagles. At this time with war breaking out in Israel that was drawn up in the Balfour Declaration on November 2nd, 112, when the NFL just had the ritual on Columbus Day with the quarterbacks that have the November 2nd birthdays. Again, I talked about it earlier, but if you got here late, that's what provoked the title of this stream. Just how hate speech has been costing me in so many ways from my work achieving what its purpose is. I mean, 10 years of working my ass off and losing like the momentum over and over with complete deletions and censorship, and then finally get a book out there that's well appreciated, and right when it starts to make money, it's taken down because that day I had a viral video that showed about this Kabbalistic code and how it was being used to provoke the Abrahamic religions with the Idza March Mosque or Christ Church shootings. I mean, think about it, you guys. Christ Church, a white supremacist Christian attacking Muslims. I mean, and I'm taken down for hate speech. I'm trying to diffuse the situation and see how we're getting set up by these authorities who do this by this code when we'd predicted that in advance, and then my big punishment is getting financially cut off at the time. And it could happen again, and you know, I'll survive if that happens. I've imagined that this day will eventually come, and I've imagined it'd be at a time like this when my message is most crucial, because that's when it's always been deleted. Whenever I'm speaking the most truth at the most crucial moment, when some people are starting to look into things, that's always when I'm getting censored the most. And notice, at this time, as this is happening, Sweet Lady's getting harassed at her work by people pretending to be authorities, saying that they're trying to track down me for arrest, panicking her at work. You know? And then all you guys who leave comments like, Zach, just leave out the drama and all this stuff. All we need is all of you guys who are real people who leave comments like that, I'm going to continue to do videos the way I want to do them and share the story. I want people to understand why I wish you all would do more while the message is still out there. You know? People are complaining about me just airing out the stuff I got to deal with every day. I mean, it's annoying. And to hardly have any of the support in the world that this work should deserve. Yeah, deserves a big word, but this work deserves it. Accurately forecasting the future, calling things out in spades, helping people out, you know, trying to gather people on important dates. I mean, there just should have been way more people participating. Here, this is the way I'll close out. There's two ways that this is going to go on, and it's going to go on for some period of time. And one path is the one a lot of you guys are really hoping on and banking on. One is it's going to be like Ukraine, where we just keep hearing the stories and the tragedies, and they take away these rights and liberties and ask for this and this more money and blah, 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 and it's just going to keep going on like that, and it doesn't really have any impact on our life other than the psychological toll and how you hear about more of your tax money's being extorted for these reasons. That's one path it could go, or it could go a lot more severe. It could be a lot like that, but it could be like it is World War, and before where you read about it being in the Asias, in Europe, in Africa, in Russia, in the Middle East, all these places, now it's here. It's at your doorstep. And it got there because people didn't stop what needed to be stopped in its tracks, like I've said a million times. And you know what else is sad? Let me show you something else that's sad. My most popular video on my channel, is, well, in the video section, because now you have video shorts live. In the video section, it's the Will Smith slap, and R.I.P. to Sidney Poitier, who that was all about, and sadly we predicted why he would die at age 94, right before those 94th Oscars, which happened. His first film, first black actor to win Best Actor for Lilies of the Field, about a man who saves nuns in the Arizona desert, Roman Catholic Church 94-minute film. At the 94th Oscars, this happens right after Sidney Poitier's death at 94. Okay, that's the most viewed video, sadly. There's there's nearly 1,000 videos on this channel now, and that one probably ranks in the bottom 100 in terms of importance. Everything I put out is important, but nowhere near as important as most of the things we're talking about. And then the most popular live stream, is the Damar Hamlin ritual. I mean, come on, man. The Super Bowl, Kevin Samuels, and for those of you guys who weren't here in the past, I used to be able to get a lot of views. Only 2 times. I've probably made over 10,000 videos in the last decade. Only 2 times have I eclipsed 1 million views, but I've eclipsed 500,000 hundreds of times. It's just I haven't gotten any views on any of these new channels in recent years now with where the algorithm is or whatever it shows you for stats. And who knows if these views are real, but the point I'm making is the most viewed videos are just like the most stupid videos. The Damar Hamlin claps, the Super Bowl, Kevin Samuels, R.I.P., but really not that important. Will Smith slap again, Taylor Hawkins' death. Live at the Staples Center is a 8.5-hour stream. That's why it got so many views. If you guys didn't miss that, or if you guys did miss that, we were down in L.A. educating about why Kobe died at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass, and live streaming in Buffalo. Or maybe, I don't know, I went to Buffalo 2 times since the top shooting to talk about it. I don't know if that's one of the live streams or a video I did from here. But, again, I mean, just so many videos and just things that actually matter, just not a lot of views. So, thank you to the people who do hit the like and the share and help get the word out there as much as possible. But, yeah. All right, shout out to Super Chatters. Thank you, Rick James. Appreciate it. Shout out to 13 Serpents again. Thank you again, friends. Congrats to the winners. Thank you as well. Did you ever cover NFL player Sergio Brown? Yeah, we covered it right when the news broke. I bet you were in the live stream. He wore number 38. Supposedly killed his mom right at the start of the season. The posts are up on my website. The video from the day the news broke's there. And then we covered when it came back, the arrest, why that happened that day. Mr. Scott says, Zach, I have tried to speak out about hip-hop, but I get heavily attacked by my own people for criticizing the music. It's like having mind control. And, hey, it absolutely is, right? It's just like you try to criticize things that need criticism, and a lot of Americans will just chew you apart. How dare you question 9/11? How dare you question hip-hop music? Don't you know that's our people's music? That's our legacy. It's like, yeah, but what happened from, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and The Message? You guys know that song, right? I mean, it's like a song about why you stay out of trouble and you don't become a gangbanger or a drug addict. And then it's like a decade later, it's the exact opposite. But that's where hip-hop music started. It's like we wouldn't be criticizing hip-hop if it stayed right there. It's cool. It's got a good message. It's fun to listen to. Nobody's criticizing that. We're saying, man, how come it got so wicked? So, I don't know, you can try saying it that way and see what happens. But I hear you, Mr. Scott. Thanks again for the donation. What will happen on Kamala's 59th birthday? I don't know, but I think, like I said, I saw Joe Biden exiting office sometime after Kamala turned 59. I predicted more towards June of next year, but it could be sooner. So, again, 59th election, renegade equals 59, like slave, Negro, blues, Rasta. That was Obama's Secret Service name. Kamala in the 59th election, same formula as Obama, one-term senator, and then boom, in the White House. Isn't it funny how Joe Biden was with Obama, and now Joe Biden's with Kamala? Can't see the script. Remember how in the first debate for the Democrats, those two made all the headlines for arguing about busing? Back then, Kamala seemed so sharp, but then when she got in the Oval Office, all of a sudden she was like a mentally handicapped. What happened? They do a lobotomy on her? What's going on? What goes on when you get in these high places? We don't even know. Is it an act? Is it theater? Is it mockery? Jewish mysticism equals 201. I've always known that one, like the Holy Bible. Mother chapter 201. I got to look into where mother chapter matters. Interesting. Thank you, Gematria Sense. And then Mr. Scott with another one. In Christianity, you're forced to believe or you go to the underworld. Most of the pastors are Masonic puppets anyways. Watchmen of the community. that reminds me, when I was in Buffalo after the top shooting on Israel's 74th birthday, teaching about Gematria and what it had to do with killing, and it being on Jefferson Street where Thomas Jefferson died on 7/4 like 74, like how 3 of the first 5 presidents died on that day. I had a minister come up to me, and he was dressed real nice, and I said, he was getting interviewed by news media as a minister in the community, and again, that was an interesting experience for me because Sandra Bland's mom, remember Sandy Bland was found hung in the Texas jail. She was there, and she came up and greeted me and recognized me and said thanks for sticking up for her daughter. She like literally recognized me and remembered my work. And then I guess I chickened out about one thing. She was there with like HBO and I forget who her bodyguards were. I think they were, I forget, but they invited me to a meeting that night at an undisclosed location. Later that night, they sent me an email with where I could meet them, and I didn't go to it. I thought, she's doing a documentary with HBO. I said, I don't know. It's cool that she recognized me, but I just feel like, I guess that's the level of paranoia. Maybe it would have been a big break, but I was just like, I don't know, man. I'm in a strange city, and yeah, she's with HBO. I think I'm going to skip the meeting, and I did. And sometimes I wonder if I should have gone to it, but that happened, and then the guy who was the son of the victim from Charleston church shooting, he came up and tried to blow up my thing, but then later him and I did a live stream, and then later he asked me to take it down. So he offered to pay me money to take it down, and I just took it down for him. I didn't take any money. I don't want any of your blood money. He was paid like $8 million for the death of his mother and lives in a mansion now, and now essentially, just toes the party line and goes against why we need to do something about guns. Pays big to become part of the agenda, even if your mom got offed by the code. And if you guys remember, if you saw that, Chris Singleton was his name. Again, we did a stream, and I taught him all about 74 and killing and how important it is and how it keeps happening. And now look at Gaza while it's 74 years old. You know what I mean? Getting some of the worst of it in a long time. Somebody who's a phony who pretended to hang around this community, they put up a video this morning saying there's nothing different going in Israel, nothing going on different in Israel right now than what's always been going on. It's the worst since 2014, and 2014 was the worst in a while, and it can get a lot worse than it is now. So it's just, you should be ashamed of yourself putting up videos and trying to get people to just not even think about what's going on over there. Again, these things all need to be stopped in their tracks and exposed. But the point I'm making is in Buffalo, I had a guy who was on the news, and then he came over and talked to me because he heard about what somebody thought was interesting, and he's like, this is interesting. He's like, how do you even figure this out? And I said, well, I knew there was something about numbers in this nation, and I started to notice certain recurring numbers, like 74, like I'm talking about, and like how even like the World Trade Centers were on the 74th meridian, and the Ides of March. He's like, that's really interesting. I was like, now since you think this is interesting, I said, do you feel like people should look into this more? He said, I think so. I think there's something going on here. And I said, now, would you share something like this at your church? And then he laughed. He's like, I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet. And I was like, well, why not? He's like, well, you don't know how people are going to react. And then I was like, see, the way he's thinking is he's got a business right now, right? He's got the church. He gets recognition on the TV. He doesn't want to put anything out there that's going to conflict with the message and mess with the collection plate. It's just like the gentlemen who were out there every day with me in Buffalo when I was out there. They said, look, the only people who have money in this community are the pastors, man. That's why we call them Pastor Biscuit. They just soak up all the wealth in this community. But I just remember he was dressed in such a nice suit, and he actually approached me and asked questions, and we had a nice conversation, but then he's like, I don't want to mess with what I got going. It's like, so that's what serving the Lord is, right? You got to make sure nothing messes with the good business flow and the reputation you have right now. And then there was also a news segment where they had a church group out there. It was an all-white church group. It was like the only white group of white people that came out because where the Thompsons is a predominantly black neighborhood. But they're all in front of the cameras and talking a nice game. And while they still had their group there, they had a mic too. And I asked them when they were done speaking, I said, hey, would it be possible to talk to your group about, I traveled all the way out here from Washington State, and I'm educating about this pattern of 74 and death and destruction and how it has a spiritual connection. I said, do you think, and the minister he thought about for me was like, I don't think we want to talk about that. And I was just like, see, this is why I don't resonate with religious people, because I can see that they're spiritually void. They can't resonate with what's real and truthful. They're just about like doing and going through the motions and staying in their lane. And it's just like all those supposed religious people that attack me. It's like, I know that anyone who has to who thinks their spiritualness is greater than mine, I can tell that those are just like spiritually void people. It's like, sorry, you're not greater and holier than thou. Like, are you the one out here dedicating your life and teaching this knowledge and put out something that could actually change the world? No, to actually give you the reality situation. You're here watching my video and talking shit about me because I don't have the same spiritual belief as you. That's not spiritual. That's someone who's all about their ego and caught up in something that's silly and ridiculous. Congrats to the winners. I imagine you're talking about the 104-year-old skydiver. I don't know if we have another 104 story, but we had the 104-year-old skydiver that was viral on 10/4, the day of the emergency alert, right before everything popped off in Jerusalem, which equals 104 and 58, like we're in the 104th NFL season, ended with Super Bowl 58, and they're literally syncing up this NFL season with what's going on, which is what I wrote about, which is why I'm now being accused of hate speech. Oh my goodness. Victor Wembanyama from France, the land of the Jesuits and the Scottish Rite. Yeah, he's got interesting numbers. Numbers for basketball, the church, the history of the first March Madness being the Catholic school over the Jesuit school, Villanova over Georgetown, R.I.P. John Thompson, and how they did him dirty on a Sunday. Thank you, Christopher Cooper, for the super sticker. And shout out to Rob. Rob, you didn't have to do anything for me. You know, I got the pleasure of eating a meal with Rob, and Rob let me crash at his house on the way to New York. From Seattle to New York, the only person's house I crashed at ever the whole time was Rob. Shout out to Rob. And hope your father's gaining further in his recovery. Thank you again, Rob. He says, I got your back forever, Zach. You were always super genuine in person, and not many others can say that. I appreciate that. And yeah, anyway, always lots to do, but just wanted to take a break and address this topic of hate speech. And what'll be extra annoying, you guys, is if the next thing I know is the video struck and taken down for hate speech, and I got a suspension, and right now I streamed on all 3 of the channels I have. It'd be funny if they're all suspended, but again, people need to wake up. Here, actually, hold on. Let's do something. I do need to get off. I'm going to dedicate 20 more minutes. I'm going to dedicate 20 more minutes to this. 20 more minutes. And again, please do not call in unless you're calling in for the reason I'm asking for callers. If you're somebody out there who flags my stuff for hate speech, because there are a group of people that do this all the time, like call in and explain why. Because I don't think anyone really thinks I'm a hate speaker, but I think there are people out there who exploit, you know, like the hate speech button, and you'd flag it a bunch of times, and the AI algorithm must just think it's hate speech because it got flagged so many times. I mean, these tactics are, it's gross. So, here, let's see if we can get anybody to call in who thinks what I'm doing, or anything, if you thought anything in this video was hate speech. You know, call in and tell me where the hate speech was. So the number to call in's up on the screen, 509-560-4982. Shout out to Bob Bobertson with the $1 tip. I appreciate that. But yeah, I guess that's the way to close out this stream. Let's get somebody else's opinion. Call in if you're one of the people, like maybe even that woman who works for the Times of Israel who's written a few articles about me. There's a woman in Israel who's written a few articles about how I've ruined the word Gematria. How when you search for it, I'm what comes up, and she makes it seem like I'm some horrible person. It's like, I'm pretty sure my knowledge right now could make you feel safer about your own life. All right, no caller ID. Okay, no caller ID. No caller ID. So I imagine you're one of the people who thinks I'm a hate speaker, so please do share. No caller ID? Hello? Hello? No caller ID? Okay, this is the other tactic, right? Just call in and hog up the line. Just call in and hog up the line and say nothing. All right, let's see if we can get a caller here. I got so many people that are actively trolling all the time. Like a guy put up a video about how I was wrong about the football game last night. Well, let's see. I was right about both baseball games, and I said Keenan Allen should score the first touchdown, which paid 10-1. So let's ignore Zach being right about both baseball games and hitting on 10-1 Keenan Allen, and let's say that he was wrong about the outcome of the game, which I said I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong. But again, these are the kind of people that just hang around all the time, just trying to make me look bad, slander, and then I always give them the time of day to call in and explain themselves, and the best they can do is usually call in and burp or just sit in silence. No caller ID. What's going on, no caller ID? Just so you guys can see that these are no caller ID, and I'm not making this up. We got no caller ID on the line. No caller ID, you're on the line. We're waiting for your response. Probably the same, Again, you guys, what I really think about a lot of you have to remember, I had the FBI literally come to my house in 2018 and falsely accuse me of saying something that I'd never said, and they came with no evidence, and I literally laughed at them and said, show me, because I know I never said that, and then they didn't. And then I realized it was like some kind of intimidation tactic. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's them that are also calling and doing what they did to Sweet Lady yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if it's them right now on no caller ID. Okay, no caller ID won't get off. But yeah, maybe again, we just don't have any real people that think I'm a real hate speaker, but we have people in the world who are cowardly and hide themselves and manipulate things on the internet because they just don't like free speech. And again, if you guys aren't aware, on my Patreon, the trolls live on there. My Patreon is full of trolls. And why is my Patreon full of trolls? Because people want to disrupt everything we're trying to do. We're trying to build community, share information, work together. There's trolls out there 24/7 to disrupt. So, all right, I think we're probably not going to get any calls. Shout out again to Bob Bobertson and Truth Does Not Exist. I appreciate the tips. I'm just waiting to see if we get another call. Oh, here we go. No caller ID one more time, just in case. If not, we'll just wrap it up. No caller ID. You're on to explain how I'm a hate speaker. I'm just going to sit there in silence. We got another call, but then they hung up right away. No caller ID? Nothing? No caller ID. Again, here they are, just sitting here in silence like a weirdo. Okay. Try one more time. We'd like to hear an argument from the other side. 470, an area code. 470, you're on.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm watching you live right now. I'm sorry, man. I just wanted to, I'm not a troll or a hater or anything like that. I just wanted to let you know, man, I really greatly appreciate your work. I recently was in the Army, National Guard, and I just, growing up, always knew something was, like, wrong, like something was going on in the world and stuff. And for me, like, joining the military, I always, like, thought it was, like, a normal thing to do. My granddad did it. And for me, like, I thought it was, like,
Hey, caller. I'm sorry to do this to you, but can you start over with your call from the beginning? I had the wrong audio setting on, so people don't hear what you're saying. So if you can just start over and take it from the top, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. My name is Christopher Cooper. I'm from Georgia. I joined the National Guard right out of high school. I was 17. I graduated class of 2017. And growing up, I always had this feeling of like, something was going on like in the world, and I just didn't know what it was. And I felt like, for me, I wanted to be a part of something to help, like, push society in a positive direction and stuff. And my granddad, he was in the Army, and he fought in Vietnam, and he was dealing with a lot of personal problems with the war and himself and drinking and stuff. And for me, I felt like I wanted to be a warrior just like he was, and joining the military and right out of high school and getting involved with like military stuff and actually getting deployed to the border. And when COVID hit, I think I left in 2019. Yeah, I left in 2019, and I was there all the way through COVID. And just to see like how like the propaganda was with like vaccines and if you get it, you can get this free burger or free donuts and stuff like that. Like that really like got me thinking like what's going on. And I started digging in some more information and studying. And then I saw that you were posting about things that happened in 9/11, and I saw that a lot of the things that are still going on and have been going on since 9/11 and the Twin Towers and everything falling, that it's prominent today. And that helped me realize that a lot of the history has been like, made into fruition because of the powers that be, the cabal, and how coronavirus was, planned and everything, and like how I've been able to like distance myself from like a lot of people who kind of don't see the same way like you do and me now. And I just want to say, I appreciate the work that you've done, because it's really like helped me better understand like where I'm at in my career. And I've just gotten out recently, so I'm just trying to get all I can from the government in a sense. And I appreciate you not you explaining the term soldier and soul dire, and then R being the 18th, letter in the alphabet, and how mostly everybody who joins has to be 18 or 17 with their parents' permission to join and stuff. So, with your knowledge and like helping me like understand like a lot of these wars that we've been in have been the U.S. has been the problem, and has been the enemy. Like it really helped me not to like go overseas and possibly kill somebody that's that didn't do anything to me, but I've been taught that that's the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to let you know that I appreciate that, man, because I've been dealing with my own stuff, and just your knowledge has helped awaken me and slowly teach other people, my other battle buddies that are dealing with stuff. So I just want to appreciate. I just wanted to call you. I know that the call wasn't for this. It was for your haters and trolls and stuff. But I just want to let you know, man. I appreciate your work, man. And don't let any of these people like try to make you feel bad. And you just keep doing what you're doing, man. And you're a true warrior. You standing up for the people. You're a voice for the voiceless. And I appreciate it, man.
Well, I do appreciate your call, and I think what your call highlights is like the people who harass me and attack me. They're like the last caller who just keeps calling in on no caller ID and sitting there in silence. It's like they're just trying to be a nuisance and provoke, and they're the ones that are having the impact. They're the ones flagging the videos and getting the channels taken down. And then here's a real human being, yourself, who's saying like, "No, I don't think you're a hate speaker. I think you helped me make a life choice that might have very well benefited my life." And I would say that that's exactly why I've been doing this, because it frustrates me to see the military recruiters come in and tell children to be all they can be in the military when they're likely going to be the next ones to get shipped off and realize that what they thought the American military was all about. I mean, go talk to all the young homeless people all over the streets of America, right? Young and old. I mean, you got Vietnam vets out on the streets that have been out there for forever. A lot of them have died now, but I mean, for all of my life, there were Vietnam vets out on the street who came back and lost their mind and were alcoholics and drug addicts and couldn't get their life together and lost everything. And it's the same thing now. That's what these wars do to people, because they're based in lies. And when people realize they've been lied to and deceived and essentially used like a commodity, like they're an extension of the weapon, like a human flesh machine gun, like that's what they were turned into. Again, there's no wonder there's the suicides and all the crazy behavior that happens. I always told you guys my story in 2018 when I picked up the guy that was pretty much naked in the middle of the night in Seattle driving for Uber and Lyft. And he was carrying a big old knife, and he wanted me to take him down to the homeless encampment because he wanted to go do something. And I was trying to like walk the line and not pissing him off and get stabbed to death myself. But he was telling me the story about how he was former soldier. He was drunk, but he was former soldier, and I wouldn't believe what he saw and how his life's so much different now. It's like, well, obviously, man, you're out in the middle of the night pretty much naked, carrying around a big ass knife, getting in my car. But I was trying to walk the line of not provoking him and getting stabbed to death, and also like, dude, I don't think you want to go down to the homeless encampment with the knife and everything. I was like, man, how about I take you to get some food, or like, I might get you some clothes, or you need anything? And I mean, I ended up dropping off in a part of the city. I have no idea what he went on to do, but I also got him to deter from going to the homeless encampment. I took him somewhere else instead. So anyway, there's just so many people that need help in the world, and ultimately, I've just been trying to wake up the world and help people not fall into the traps that are set for us. So I really do appreciate your call, because you validate what my intention's always been, and I haven't always been the best at delivering the message, but yeah, for my work to continually be taken down for hate speech when that's never the intent, it's just really annoying, and I appreciate this call. I bet someday this video gets taken down for either misinformation or hate speech or something, and it'll just be another irony, but thank you for your call and saying all that you said, and I'm glad it had a positive impact. I hope it continues too, so thank you.
Yeah, man, I I appreciate everything, and thanks for taking my call. I'm 25. I'm still young. I'm still learning and stuff, and that's what I've been telling everyone that is in my circles is like, hey, this life is about learning. It's about growing. It's about evolving. And if you're not doing that, if you keep thinking that same mindset, keep staying in that mindset that is stagnant, then you're not gonna reach your full potential. And that's what I'm focused on, man. And I just want to thank you and your knowledge and stuff. It really helped me get through a lot of dark periods in my life, especially during my deployment and stuff and COVID and stuff. So yeah, I don't want to hold up the line for somebody else, but yeah.
Well, you're not holding up the line, but thanks again, friend.
If you have a chance, you could if you have a chance to come to Atlanta, Georgia, because I'm in Georgia, and so if you have a chance,
I need to come to Atlanta. Atlanta was supposed to be that. I was supposed after New York last year. I was supposed to head south and hit all those cities down to Atlanta, and I really regret that I didn't make it down there. I've been wanting to go to Atlanta and confront CNN and see what kind of turnout we can get in Atlanta. So that is a plan, and hopefully that's sooner than later. I look forward to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I got both of your books too. I'm slowly reading all of them, but yeah, I won't hold you up, man. Have a good rest of your evening.
All right, appreciate it. You too. Thank you. All right, take care. It's 5:30 where he is. It's only 2:30 out here on the West Coast. But it's funny, when I was on the East Coast, I was tripping out. I'm like, man, it's crazy how Sweet Lady's 3 hours behind me right now. I can't believe how early it is out there. It's a big old country we live in, and it's a big old group of psychopaths ruling over the whole damn thing. But there's a lot more of us, and again, that's the other part of my message. That we need to work together, unite, and stop what's going on. To make a point about working together, who's one of the best people about speaking on the issues on the time, who has a YouTube platform, who's been around? He's one of my nemesises, and I've tried to work together with him, but he always just wants to attack me. I'm talking about High Impact Flicks. Have you guys seen what he has... He's now only doing one type of content on YouTube. He's not speaking out about the tyranny and all the stuff that he used to because he kept getting in trouble and censored. So you can see he got beat into a corner. And now all he's doing is videos of cops and the populace being confronted and how police abuse authority. And it's like, he's making a lot of money from it. It's just like, And that's another guy who tried to slander my name, and the only reason he tried to slander my name is because I asked why he wouldn't help with me in the age of censorship after he said we have to stand up for censored channels. I said, how come you never say anything about my work? Then he got a big problem with me because I said, well, maybe you're only here to make money, and you realize talking about my thing will get you censored. So that got him so mad and fuzzy, but now look at him. He's not talking about anything that matters. He's only doing cop confrontation videos, and again, it's because he makes a nice revenue stream from that. So for all you guys who can't see the difference, I put everything on the line every time I get out and put out a video because I go and say all the things they don't want me to say, and I keep getting punished, and I keep getting suppressed, but I keep coming back anyway. And I don't compromise for that. I don't know how people can't respect that. So again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. If you got here late, rewind the video. The more important stuff is always at the beginning, but shout out also to that last caller. Until next time, True Seeker.